Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for being here. Thanks for seeing all of you again. Prequels. How about them prequels? What do you think?
I don't mind them.
Yeah,
Long as,
prequels are great. We love prequels. Anyway, sorry. Inside joke. Inside joke. We were all talking about Star Wars prequels a little bit earlier, and we're talking about a prequel today. We're talking about Anatomic, an Inglorious Rex prequel. It's going to feature one of the characters from that series by Shane Davis and Yanzi Lin. So um, let's jump into the prequel talk. What do you think, Twitless? Do you want to give us a synopsis? Let's just start cold. What do you think of that?
You just want to jump right into it?
Should we go on Raw? Yeah.
I was gonna say I came with opinions. I'm just waiting for my turn to give them.
Okay. Opinions on the menu.
Yeah.
All right. Now, let me bring up the. Let me start. I'll bring up the campaign, and Shane, I think mostly crowdfunded it on his site, so you can go get it there, which is awesome. But I couldn't find like a record of the old crowdfund campaign, so I don't know how much it raised on his site. I just have the Indiegogo. I know that one raised 32K.
A lot. Yeah.
Lots of monies. All right, Twitless, you're on. Give us a synopsis.
Alrighty. In a world where giant monsters threaten humanity, forcing people to live in Ark City, a technological fortress, what do you do for entertainment? Watch giant monster fights, of course. Meet Anatomic, a rising star in monster martial arts, who's clawed her way up from nothing with Razor, a giant monster clone from her DNA that she pilots in MMA matches. But when the enigmatic T sets her up with her latest match, Anatomic and her boyfriend Alex Stone are faced with challenges that go beyond the arena. Can Anatomic win in a stacked contest? In this prequel to Inglorious Rex, find out how these characters came to be in Anatomic Welcome to the Arena.
How did he do, Piper?
Oh, good.
yeah, pretty good.
Shane
Yeah.
is in chat. He says that the campaign made 148K.
A stacked Anatomic.
A lot more monies. Yeah.
Not bad for like a book that's covering one of the characters, featuring one of them. So I think that's actually, that's nothing to sneeze at.
And she features heavily in Inglorious Rex, so it makes sense to have her have her own thing.
Was this a good choice for her first solo character from the series?
I think that she's one of the only. It would either be her or Rune Gunn, right? Because they're the two kind of standouts there. I do want to preface by saying I do have some criticisms to talk about, but I want to start by saying, and I told this to Shane when I saw him in Tampa. I still believe this overall. I still think that Inglorious Rex is one of the strongest Comicsgate series that we've got, especially even of the King's tier. I think it belongs right on it looks like it would just come. It would fit right next to things that Image is currently putting out. I think Image actually is kind of putting out a book called Final Boss, which is about super powered MMA kind of contests. So this is very fitting, and I think it strongly delivers. The IP overall is one of the strongest things that CG has put out. You're mixing kind of the ideas of like Godzilla and Pacific Rim and some cyberpunk in there, dystopia, and those are some really good ingredients to play with, and they're very they get the imagination sparking. In fact, that's one of that led to me to have some moments of strong criticism based on the fact that I think that the creativity in this series has some real strength to it.
So he's definitely tapping into the zeitgeist. What do you think, Literature Devil? Is this up your alley?
Yeah, I did martial arts myself for a few years. I got a black belt in kickboxing, so yeah, it was really fun. I kind of felt the adrenaline with this whole thing as it built up to the climactic battle. Everything it was very like there was very little fat here. That you kind of was you could follow the track of the story from beginning to end. and you kind of knew where everything was going. You kind of felt like the build up, the rising action, and the climax. And you kind of knew what was going to happen, and then you also didn't exactly know what was going to happen. Was she going to win? Was she going to get out of this, scot free? Was she going to suffer? And was she going to like lose in the end? And if she was going to lose in the end, how big was she going to lose? So overall, it was pretty interesting. Kind of like this is very kind of almost parallel to Rocky. Like this, I know this series kind of parallel to Rocky. This one was very interesting because it wasn't really Rocky so much as kind of like the beginning of the movie Safe. He's like he's really really strong fighter to the point where he kind of he needs to throw fights to lose them. But he also he's also under the thumb of a boss, like a gaming boss who says you need to take dives. And so this is kind of it. And it was pretty well done overall. I guess we'll get that in a little bit though.
It's very one thing to come right out and say is that as opposed to some other books in the scene which are only tell fragments of a story, I'd say that overall this one tells a fairly it definitely leaves things open, but it's very complete. There's a character arc, there's a beginning, middle, and end. If we're doing this sort of cinematic approach of filmic narrative in comics, you at least get a prequel entry movie. And it feels complete. And that's a strength that
I disagree.
Really?
So
okay.
Hard. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we're talking about Annatomic when you say that, right?
Right.
Oh my
I'm saying as a sort of like as an entry. And I'm not saying her entire story is completed.
No. I'm saying as an entry as well. One of the problems I actually have is that if you Inglorious Rex, right? It's got all the pieces that you need in an issue. It's got build up and it's got payoff. Glorious Rex 2 stops doing that. It's all build up. And then Anatomic is build up. The reader, there's so much foreshadowing. The reader definitely can figure out, okay, I know what's going to happen. What we want is what is she going to do about it? We don't get that.
What in what way? Because in one way we do get what she's going to do about it in terms of the ethical conflict. Because the big setup here is that she's told to take a dive because she's too successful and they want to work the crowds. This whole thing is all about rigging the games to work the crowds. Gold tooth T is all about manipulating audiences and things. And so he sets up this plot essentially to get her to take a dive. And so she works. I'd say one of the interesting things that I have a problem with is that the book advertises itself as an action martial arts piece, but it's much more of a character study. Yeah. And so we definitely get payoff on the character study part of Anatomic deciding where she's going to fall on the moral implications of this.
But we really don't get, because you still go into this book and you know what she's going to choose. Because there's a million more pages of the book left. Like, you know what she's going to choose, and you know it pretty quickly. There's tons of foreshadowing that basically lets the reader know exactly what's going to happen because of that choice. So you know what she's going to choose. And she predictably does. And predictably, the end result of that is foreshadowed like crazy. So you pretty much, if the reader's got any brains, like they know what's going to happen.
Right. That's a separate point though, because
I think what we're reading for is, you know this is going to happen. Now, how is she going to get her get back? But we just get to the predictable part and we stop.
So what you're saying is that you wanted to see more of the after effect of the fight.
Yeah, I think we could have done a little more actiony too, and done it a little faster. And I think the cutoff spot could have been better but it, like Inglorious, that's what kills me, because Inglorious Rex, the first one, it does it perfect. There is a payoff, but there's also tons of, well, obviously the story's definitely not done. Like,
Mhm.
we want to know what happens next, but we got a payoff.
So you wanted to see the rematch because at the end of this, she wants a
Yeah.
rematch. It's set up for a rematch. You wanted that in this book.
I think it should have been in this book, or it should have been cut in a different spot. So I think storytelling wise, it doesn't flow nice. Even in Glorious Rex 2, it drove me crazy that it was nothing but the whole thing was build up. But it was like, it was very interesting build up, especially at the end, where you're like, oh crap, okay, yeah, I definitely got to read the next one. This one's just like, and
Yeah, I think it depends on.
And she got her ass kicked at the end.
Yeah, I definitely think that, and that touches on what I brought up earlier. It depends on where you personally are finding your investment. If you are invested in the emotional arc, you're gonna feel like that cutoff point's okay. If you're invested in the action part, and to be fair, this series overall, this IP is advertising, it's very much banking on the martial arts part. If you're banking on that part, I could see why you wouldn't be as satisfied. So I really think it kind of depends on like which track you're on. If you're on the like, oh, I'm really tracking with like the emotional journey that Anna or Alex are on, then that cutoff point in this book makes more sense. But if you're on the other track, the roller coaster of I want to see these giant monster fights and how they sure I'm just saying, like, I think that the dissatisfaction makes a lot of sense depending on which track you're more leaning into.
And on both tracks, I think if we wanted to, if the payoff was going to be what choice she was going to make and then directly what happens, then I think there shouldn't have been quite as much foreshadowing through the entire rest of it that tells the reader that, like, maps out and freaking basically gives the reader a diagram, tells them exactly what's going to happen. I think there shouldn't have been as much of that to leak the end so that the end wasn't predictable.
So, Lit Dev, you said that your main experience is through Annatomic, so you've got a site that we don't have. What is your feeling about this just as a story standalone and only experiencing this particular entry?
Here's how it is. I thought it was pretty interesting the way it's built up. The beginning, the introduction is that, oh, she's awesome. And that's kind of what the main thing is revolving around, is that Annatomic is essentially unbeatable. She doesn't really go into matches kind of competing. She goes in there winning, and it's up to her if she has to choose to lose in order for her to actually lose. Like, that's why Little T is like, oh, you got to take a dive so this person looks cool and we all make a bunch of money. That makes sense. And that's kind of hard to pull off sometimes, like when you have a character who's this awesome and is pretty much unstoppable, and then to give it more investment and conflict. And I think that kind of did end up happening. And the reason why I think that is because we begin with the start of her, watching a match of hers. Like, is she losing? No, she's going to win. Like, she won. And then we have the conflict with Little T and these other people, her opponent, her soon-to-be opponent. And he's they're mapping out like, oh, Anatomic's awesome, but we're going to match you up against her, even though this Latina lady is like a 7-year veteran and everything. So that's the conflict. That's the inciting incident, essentially, of this particular story is the choice. And we could see it coming. We could see it coming with here. It's a setup of like, here it comes. The choice that Anatomic has to make is, will she take a dive and kind of shatter her integrity as a fighter, right? She's an honest fighter. She kind of wins every battle based on her skill. She has so much loyalty and so much loyalty to the integrity of the people that kind of back her up. Okay, now Little T's asking, hey, I need you to take a dive, right? And that's the main conflict here. It's not just necessarily the battle, because the setup, the beginning of the story kind of pictures her as a person who must choose to lose in order to actually lose. That's how good she is. She went to the stone gym and everything. So what's next is the rest of the story leading up to the fight is an interesting buildup of various conflicts. And first of all, she has her loyalty to Stone, who's like the one guy backing her up, the one guy that she can count on, the guy who's defying his father for her sake. and he was the one, and for his sake, she wants to remain keep her integrity intact, at least at the start. That's how it is. And so there's one where, okay, little T is giving her like a command to throw the fight, and he's like, I promise you, you're going to have your big show someday. We got to build the story, right? You got to lose a little bit, and then you're going to come back twice as strong. And she promises little T that, hey, okay, I will take this dive. And then it's like, okay, this doesn't sit right though, because essentially she was kind of strong armed into it. And
I do think it is interesting, since you are right there, that she agreed at first, because it kind of questions her integrity now, because or a bit, because, well, you already gave your word, so is your word crap? Like,
there's a few
shouldn't have said it in the first place. It's just an interesting way to look at the integrity thing that I thought was cool. That's not a criticism. I thought it was interesting that technically her integrity could now be brought into question because she agreed to something.
If we're going to dive into her character, I think there are some strengths and weaknesses. I think I do like Anna, but I don't think I fully buy how she's portrayed, considering what's been set up for her. And there's a couple minor niggles, like she's set up as being unbeatable, but she's also a rookie, and she actually points this out. And so it's like, I'm unbeatable, but I'm also a rookie, so there's a little bit of a contradiction there, minor one. But ultimately, I think the larger issue is, as a character, she's supposed to be someone who clawed her way up from the streets. She comes across as kind of naive. Like, for someone who's like, I'm this like back alley, grew up almost like a street urchin. For her to, I don't know, just process some of this material, some of what's going on, with this sort of like a wide-eyed kind of, acceptance of it. You'd think she'd either be extremely jaded, right? Like, she would just either she would either be extremely jaded, and so she'd know this is just how the game is played, and so she'd just like roll her eyes at it. Or she would just be like, cursing up a storm and like hitting people because she's an angry little, upstart. So I feel like that as a character, I'm not fully believing. I partially believe it, but I feel like I could fully believe her more because if she were portrayed a little differently, the way she is written in this story, and I understand part of this because it's a prequel. You want her to arrive at who we see in Inglorious Rex 1, but I'm not sure I 100% buy her characterization.
Fair.
Well, what do you think, Literature Devil? Since you did martial arts, like, does this fit the fighter archetype for you?
Yeah, because
are these conflicts believable?
Yeah, there is like the whole thing of like, okay, on one's the fighter will be, the martial artist is very loyal to their art, their craft, and their integrity and everything. But also she grew up from the street. She knows how the game works. So she knows like little T has all this power. So, and I think everyone knows this. Like he can do pretty much whatever. He has a lot of influence. So the thing is, you take a dive when he tells you to take a dive. And it kind of insinuates what happened to Nate.
That's what I'm saying. There was so much foreshadowing that the reader knows what's going on or what's going to happen before it happens, because we get a lot of that. So even if you didn't read the Inglorious Rex, the other books, you still know.
There is a really good, I won't call it an Easter egg, but there's a really good, like we talked about the foreshadowing, there's a nice bit of it where it's heavily implied that what happened to Nate in Inglorious Rex when he died was essentially mirroring what Anna is being asked to
Annatomic.
do.
Exactly.
Right. Because apparently Nate went in with little T to have a meeting, and he came out angry, and he defied little T,
and he died. So and we know that at the end of this one, T is not above murdering people. So it's
which I think is a really good setup in Annatomic, because we know there are consequences. Like which her choice is a heavy one later on. So
it's not just she's going to get fired or anything like that. It's
you will get
something
killed.
Is going to happen. Yeah.
So later, it's like, so we know that she probably knows this too, and that's why she kind of agrees. Like, okay, well, this is fine. I'll agree. I want my career to keep going. She also, I think, she mentions here also that she owes her career to little T in some respect, and so there's that part of it. She knows there's how the street works. This is how it works. It's not always honest. There's back room, back alley things going on. Little T has lots of influence. He probably killed Nate. She also owes him some her career. And so, but things it doesn't sit right with her, and we get that shower scene. I think right after she agrees and goes, you know what, this is not sitting right. I said yes because I felt obligated to, essentially.
It's it gets a little hand wringy at times. Again, that goes to the characterization bit. I feel like she should be a little more hardened than this. But like I understand that the story is walking her through this decision as an emotional arc. I get that. There were a couple moments personally I was like, this is getting a little hand wringing, just a bit.
Well, after that,
Well,
she
so
gets
other
she.
than this,
Wait, sorry.
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Litter.
Well, after the shower.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I cut you off.
After the shower scene was it where she was like talking about like she's going over this internal conflict of like, okay, I owe so much to little T. I can do them his favor. I need to do this. Also, there's consequences. But then again, I also need to be loyal to Stone because he's been backing me up this entire time, or the guy. And then after there's conflict upon conflict building up, and consequences being set, and then she goes off and goes, I need something real. So she goes off to, I guess, her old mentor or where she grew up, and she sees like these little kids on the street, and they're practicing martial arts because, I mean, what else is there? And she sees that, man, everyone looks up to her. They see her as a hero, a proof that they can get out, and she doesn't want to betray that either. So eventually, it's not just her integrity as a martial artist. It's like I'm also an inspiration to these kids. So she decides to go fight despite it all. And I think it's really interesting what's going to happen, because you kind of know that little T is going to give her consequences, but you don't. But it's a big boiling crock pot of like these conflicting conflicts where she wants to stay loyal to this guy and wants to stay loyal to little T and wants to continue her career, even though she knows she's probably tossing it away for the sake of maintaining her idol status in the eyes of these kids. So we might know where the trajectory is going, but we don't really know exactly what's going to exactly happen. But we do know there's going to be some consequences. We do know there's going to be a big conflict. But she goes in there and starts this annihilating this her opponent. Like there's her opponent. Yeah, and so they have to cut off her controls, and she gets just destroyed. So. And then little T is like, well, I'll wait till you recover before we kind of, help your Rex out. And meaning that the wounds are going to fester and she's probably going to die. So it's of course she herself is not going to die, but it is a, I guess he's gone.
we lost well read. And
but it is a pretty big conflict and pretty big resolution. And yeah, so we kind of feel the weight of why she's so angry and ready to get back at everyone by the end of the book, but it was down to her choices. She was the one that chose what was happening in the end, because again, she is pretty much unstoppable, and I think it was done pretty well considering the focus was not on is she going to win, it was focusing on all the stacked conflicts that were building as the story went along.
Well, so it gives you a lot of conflicts as something that tests the character just throughout the story arc. But usually if you get a solo story for a character in a main series, you get a lot of background about them. And you find out what they're made of, where they came from, what inspires them, motivates them to do what they're doing. Did you get much of that in this story for Anna?
I think
yes,
that's enough.
You actually get, not only for her, what surprises me is that although the book's called Annatomic, the narrative voice actually jumps into several characters' head. Often in stories like this, you're going to have the sort of, limited omniscience where you're just following like one person's mind. But this book actually jumps into Alex's from Inglorious Rex. It jumps into Alex's dad, jumps into, I think, Gunn, actually, the rival guy, at least once. So it jumps into many people's heads. I think more than we've ever seen in the series. So it's not just giving you some of the motivations for Anna, who you do get quite a bit for. I agree with LitDev there, but you actually jump into Gunn's head for a second, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm happy. You get to see entirely what his mindset is about Nate's death. I'm happy." He says, Nate did not deserve 232, the main kaiju Rex from Glorious Rex. I'm glad I rectified this problem by killing him. So unrepentant murderer right there. You get to jump right inside his head and see what makes him tick there. So multiple characters you get to jump inside here.
It definitely gives you context for a lot of things that happen in the first in Glorious Rex. But I actually think that the ash can for Anna told me a lot more about her than her entire book.
Please elaborate. What do you think about that?
The little story about where she actually comes from, because this book just mentions, goes back to the guy with the kids fighting in the street, and that's pretty much all you really get for where she came from before she was Rex fighting, and nothing really gives off the motivations of where the motivations came from originally. So that little story about when she was a kid actually told me a lot more about her as a person than her entire full book here.
It's trying to, as a prequel, it is trying to do not just Anna. It's trying to set up several things.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think even though it's called Annatomic, it's still about everybody.
Is it doing too much heavy lifting and trying to set up too many things for too many characters, and should have focused more on Anna?
Maybe.
I think once we had the initial setup of like the offer, so to speak, the offer you can't refuse, I think it would have been better if you focused mostly on Annatomic and not gone back to these guys. The main benefit we get from going back to, I'll call them the villains, is that we see the attitude of her opponent. Like she's kind of nervous, but she wants to destroy Annatomic. She wants to beat her for real. She doesn't want Annatomic to throw the fight. She wants to fight her for real and beat her for real. Because she gets to kind of like she loses respect for Annatomic after hearing that she said yes to throwing the fight. So
yeah,
that part was I think
was interesting. I liked that.
Yeah, I think that part was a little necessary, but otherwise, we don't really need to go back too much to these guys. That's it should. I think it would have benefited if we focused a little bit more on Annatomic, but it wasn't that big of an issue, I don't think.
Nah, I agree. We probably could have left out jumping into Gunn's head, although it was kind of, it definitely confirmed his perspective.
Yeah, and it kind of was, but jumping into Gunn's head was interesting because it really kind of reaffirmed and clarified that, yeah, you disobey little T, you die. And there's no qualms about it. He's going to enjoy killing you. There's like this lady's probably going to enjoy killing Annatomic should she pull out of the deal.
Matt Kevlar from chat, if you don't mind, I would like to address, because we've talked a lot about story, and I do have one big thing I want to talk about before we're done about the fighting here specifically. But it is a comic, so we should probably say a few words about the art. I think that it's art by Anthony Gonzalez Clark, colors by Jason Wright. And I think that as a package overall, it's pretty solid. It doesn't have the same polish that Shane usually brings. It's a little rougher around the edges, but I think for a side book, I think that's fine. Because it's like it's meant to be a little more ancillary to the main narrative. So doing a sort of a rougher approach here in some cases, and it's still, like I said, I think Anna looks quite good. She's a little softer. I think Shane's lines are a little more exact, a little more precise, and therefore a little sharper. And so there's a certain femininity that I think you get from the rounder approach that Gonzalez is bringing here. Emphasis on round on this panel. That being said, I know, I know Shane can do round. I remember the alt cover for Inglorious Rex. So anyway, that being said, like I said, there's a certain roundness to here, and I think the coloring definitely makes it look very cyberpunk, which is definitely, I think, the kind of feel they're going for with Arc City. I don't have, and not only that, Gonzalez also does a lot of very interesting kind of things with his approach. The first page you have Razor's leg just like stomping on like the entire page and almost like going through all the panels. It's there's some very creative perspective choices being taken here. It's a visual treat. And so I think the art. It's like I said, chat's noticing some positive things there. I think there's some fun eye candy.
Does it set up a possible solo anatomic series, or do you feel like it's purely a supplemental to the main Inglorious Rex storyline?
With the characters involved in this, I think it's supplemental.
Mm-hmm.
I think she could have an offshoot, but this wouldn't be the starting point of it.
I'm not sure if the world, the way it's being set up by the story, is one that would easily allow for a solo. Because like the world of Arc City is like it's this city on a hill that's literally surrounded by the Vile, which are just hordes of unending like nightmare giant monsters. And so like the last refuge of humanity in the story here is Arc City. So everyone is contained to one location. So even if you do a solo offshoot, they're going to be rubbing shoulders with everyone in this city because of how the world is set up. I'm not saying it's not impossible to do a solo, but it's going to be difficult to have a solo that doesn't automatically, because this one demonstrates this, because Anna daily rubs shoulders with everyone from Inglorious Rex, almost, and so it's more focused on her, but it still has to deal with the fact that she and Alex train at the same gym, and her Rex has connections with potentially with 232. Like there's so many of these overlapping connections that it's difficult to extricate those and have her go off on a solo journey that a spinoff would usually do.
So she doesn't have enough of her own independent conflicts where it could be interesting to facilitate a solo series. Everything that she experiences is very heavily tied to the larger Inglorious Rex world and the broader characters that are in that universe.
It is very linked. It is very linked.
Yeah. Do you guys want to say any more about the art? So tell me about the tension with the fight scenes.
Okay.
How are those
All right.
playing out?
Here we go. I'm digging in. All right. The fight scene was the thing that let me down the most. I need more about how this stuff works, or I'm not fully invested in it. Specifically, I need to know a little bit, not a lot more. I know that this story is kind of teasing some things out. It's very clear that the story wants to keep some of its cards closer to the chest and reveal them a little over time. I get that. However, after 100-something pages, I need to know a little bit more about how these matches work, what the rules are, and what the abilities and interactions with those rules that are created through these creatures. Because without those things, what we end up with, in my opinion, is a little bit of a disappointing overall fight that I can't get fully invested in. I'll paint the picture here. It's set up, she's supposed to throw the fight, she decides not to throw the fight. That raises the stakes, because now I know that it could be anybody's game. But then immediately the fight is pretty much entirely in Anatomic's corner. There's really no point that really makes me feel like Sophia and Stingor actually have a chance. So then that deflates my investment in the fight, because I just know how it's going to go. And then suddenly, the bad guys turn off her connection to her Rex or Kaiju for anyone else. And then the fight completely, it's very binary. She's either 100% winning or she's 100% losing. And this is something I've noticed in some of the other Rex fights. And I'm like, the story has all these cool things in it that are teased out. Like they have like the ability to absorb kinetic energy. And there's like, if you make it to round 5, they have to expel all the energy in one punch and see who wins. But nothing is satisfyingly done with that. And I'm going to rewrite, again, hire me later. My rates are very reasonable. I'm going to rewrite the ending of this fight a little bit, and you guys on panel tell me if this sounds a little bit more compelling while also preserving what needs to happen. So, like I said before, we know that these Rexes when they hit round 5, they have ultra kinetic super punch. It's called the ultra round. Okay. It's a little bit more better spelled out in Glorious Rex, the main series, but it's definitely a mechanic that's part of this universe. So if you have that, and leave that panel right up, okay? Because I'm about to explain some visual things as well. So Annatomic and Razor are on the right, and Stingor, the scorpion-looking lady with the claws, are on the left. So the way the mechanics could work that would be so interesting and also use the tools that Shane has developed is to make it so that Razor has to work with a stratagem, because look at those little spindly legs on the right. The way I interpret the rules of how this universe should work, Razor should have to win her fights most of the time before round 5, because she's quick and she's nimble and she can do these lethal strikes. But those little spindly legs cannot absorb the type of kinetic energy that like 232 can like blow out, all right? And this actually makes the story fascinating, because now you've got strategies. You can have one character who goes, you know what? Because they mentioned that the Rexes store kinetic energy as the fight goes. That's why Ultra Round 5, they blow it all out. So you could have different strategies where one Rex is turtling and is just like absorbing the energy, knowing that as long as I last it till round 5, I'm blowing out my opponent. And that means that as the rounds go, round 1, round 2, round 3, the tension is rapid, because Annatomic would be losing her momentum to actually win. And that raises the stakes. Now get this. This is perfectly set up with what Shane's got, because the woman on the left has got claws. Claws are these big giant claw arms would be perfect to turtle and absorb energy, especially if she doesn't have the edge in the fight. And so then we're ratcheting up the tension. She's not as good as a fighter as me, but I can't get the kill shot, and if I get to round 5, my spindly legs are going to blow out. Add that to the fact that she's supposed to take the dive. So when, in round 4, when she needs to win, they don't just cut her off 100%. Whatever they do cuts off like half, so she can only work out like her right and left limbs. And now we've got real tension. Can she work the miracle to get the kill shot before the end of round 5? Now we have a ticking clock. And now we're using that, the mechanics that T has thrown in. Now I'm heavily invested in this fight. And whether she wins or whether she loses, I'm following along as a spectator. A lot of the fun of watching a superpowered fight is playing this stuff out. Thinking about what hit and counter hit mean, what it means to go another round. But I don't have enough details for how this world works, how these characters work, and what tools that are on the table are not being fully utilized in a way that would really get me in my seat, nail-biting tension. So like I said, I really feel let down by how this fight is played out. And I feel like with a couple of tweaks, with the ingredients that are already here, I would have just enjoyed this fight so much more.
So what do you guys think? Did Twitless's years as a slap fighting black belt with a green belt and hair pulling?
I actually really, really liked that, because if there was more focus on the fight itself, the ending wouldn't feel so meh. Because then I feel like I really watched the fight, instead of everything is focused on the fact that she is going to maybe die, instead of the fight itself. And that sounded awesome, man. I would have loved to have seen that drawn on the thing, because then I feel like, okay, I watched a fight, instead of just I watched her choose not to take a dive and the obvious results that I knew were coming. So I really like that. That's kind of in Glorious Rex 1. They build it up to the fight, and the fight you really don't know, because it could go anywhere and the plot could still keep going. You could do so much with that. And that's why the first one felt like, we had a build up, we had a payoff. The second one feels like massive, massive build up, which is interesting. And this one just kind of felt flat. I feel like with that fight, with a little more effort put into the fighting part, it would feel like, I finished reading something.
I'm going to tag you in literature dev, since you're the fighter. What did you think?
I mean,
Get on the map.
I read the fight. I thought it was pretty exciting. But yeah, it's like so you get this stuff in like a ebb and flow in the fight. And I made a video about this where it make you. There are 4 core emotions, and you kind of want a scene to switch that emotion, to switch between those emotions. And I think this one does. But if we're trying to paint a fight, uh, like you could look at a Rocky fight, and it's like there's ebbs and flows in that fight as well. Especially the one where he fights Drago, where it's like you're stepping inside a ring with a machine, and so it's like he has the advantage, and then Rocky is later able to get the advantage because he starts getting angry, and so that's kind of we have these big core emotional moves in this fight. When it comes down to the fight itself, we don't it's not really like we know the techniques or the style of either character. It's more like we know they can punch, we know they can kick, but we don't really know like their fighting techniques or their strategies. I know sometimes in Rocky they talk about, okay, you gotta move like this. I remember like in one where he fights Clubber Lang, like he starts to take pointers from Apollo Creed's old coach, so you can move a little bit differently. So here it's like I think it could benefit from having us know the different combatants' techniques, their strategies, and like Goku has the Kamehameha. We see how they can have like little strategies or different moves, their specialities. Everyone has like their special move they can do. I think they could add some excitement. But as far as the fight goes, and it's an emotional ebb and flow, I think it does a pretty good job, considering that the focus of the fight is less on the fight itself and more on the emotional conflicts with Annatomic and how that's been building up the entire time. Because usually if the fight is being built up, it's like, okay, she's training, she's learning the opponent's skill set, she's learning new moves, the Rocky thing where she gets a new mentor, she's doing all this stuff so that all of her techniques and new skills are going to be put to test at this fight. But that's not really what's being built up. What's being built up is the ultimate choice that she made. Am I going to take a dive? Am I not? And she's going to say, no, I'm not taking a dive. And the reasons are that I'm loyal to myself. I'm loyal to Stone. I know the thing is with her loyalty to Stone is interesting, or the guy is interesting.
Yeah, it's Stone. It's Alex Stone. Yeah.
So okay,
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is interesting because she believes that she owes him a lot because he kind of went against his father for her, backs her up, supports her, but also does not want to see her dead. And so he goes like, okay, basically, without so many words or directly saying it, he's like, I'll back you up if you decide to take a dive. Essentially what he's saying. And on one hand, she wants to keep the integrity clean with him, but on the other hand, she knows she does not want to die or get hurt and hurt him, which is the result of what will happen if she crosses a little T. So there's a lot of these conflicts raging inside of her, and it's the emotional conflicts they're
driving the narrative. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Is like the emotional track here is actually way stronger than the physical fighting track. My contention is that I feel like with, again, some of the tweaks I suggested or something different, but I think you can do both. And if this series the series does label itself as monster martial arts, I do feel like I need more. And I think you're 100% right, Dev, and it's about it being more focused on that emotional journey. But that's also why I feel a little disappointed in that particular. I feel like we could do both. I feel like we could do both. I feel like we deliver both better.
I would say that you're correct, and it's a little. It would be a little bit disappointing if this were not a side book, so. Sometimes you have like a series where, okay, there's a different episode following a different person, and we're going to do a little bit something different. If Inglorious Rex 1 and 2 are all about the fighting, it's okay. I think it'll be okay if we have we have Annatomic and her emotional journey throughout the story, especially because she's a woman, and it's a lot more. It's really interesting to see a woman's emotional journey in a fighting world.
Is it really?
So, I think so. With Annatomic, yeah. Especially when you stack these conflicts together, her internal conflicts together, the way that this book did.
I Piper
And
is the
so-
Piper is the resident woman. What do you think of?
Yeah, are you ready to step in the ring?
Right? No, hell yeah, 1v1 me, IRL, bro. Um, I think everybody's got really, really good points. I really like the idea of the fighting being more of the drama happening in the ring, and I think that could have happened. So that we don't have pages of like talking and stuff. But
I'll lean leaning into Lit Deb's corner a bit. I think I do like the character development parts. I just feel like we can do both. I can have my steak and I can have my vegetables. It doesn't have to, we can do both. I feel like just adding some more to this final fight would not detract from that emotional journey. If anything, I think we could amplify it. I think more
the fight would definitely have been, even in this book where the focus more on the emotional journey, it definitely would have benefited from us having the fight a little more grounded. What I mean by that is the techniques, what they use. It could be even something goofy like tiger uppercut or something like that. But they could have some special moves. We know what they do. We know what it costs, especially like what it costs them to do this move.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I can do this once per day or something like that. You know, just the like Kenshin's thing. I'm Kakaru no Hirameki. We can only use like one a day or something like that.
yeah.
The resource management is really important here because they talk about in the series as a whole about evolution, and I'm like, well, do you choose how this thing evolves? Is it like stats you get to allocate? I have no idea how any of that works. Is there a trade-off exactly? They mentioned that there should be a trade-off for Stingor, but I'm like, what exactly goes into like how you prep this monster?
Yeah, so like in Rocky, like you see them getting tired and sweaty and bloody, and his face all puffy. I think it would benefit more from stuff like that. You can see them getting damaged. They see them. I mean, you do see them getting damaged, but see them, get exhausted and more tired, and you can see the bruising and the thing is about Rocky, the big moments is like, gotta cut my eye, Mick, gotta cut my eye, or he broke his hand. You have like 5 minutes before it numbs up, and you can use it again. Like those moments are like the big moments. Everything else kind of window dressing in those Rocky fights, but those big moments are those that kind of change and shift the fight on a more tangible level. Like he broke his hand, gotta cut my eye open, Mick. He's not getting beat, he's getting mad, that sort of thing. Those moments, like they kind of signal that there's a shift in the battle. But yeah, so if they had, yeah, you're right. If we had a little bit more understanding, a little more grounded insight into their different techniques, what they use, their moves or whatever, I think it'd be a little more exciting, especially if we do know what it costs them to use these moves. You see like, oh, they're damaged, they're getting tired, things like that. I think it would benefit.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Did you guys want to do final thoughts, or would you rather just take a few minutes to talk about the climax and give your thoughts on that and the story overall?
I have a random thought that I
random
don't know
thoughts are welcome.
where or when to put it, but I just wanted to say that my guilty pleasure is following Little T's inability, his losing his grasp on the English language, despite what time period it's supposed to be. He seems to just gradually lose more and more ability to speak English per per issue, instead of like, this one's a prequel, so maybe he didn't know how to talk now, but knows how to talk later. But I loved really tracking, like, he used to actually say these words back in the first one. Like,
I think that's a natural, because anyone who is, and again, I don't know how, if Shane is, like many of us are developing writers, you're finding your voice and you're finding your character voices as you go. That's also what makes the prequel a little awkward, because like even with Lucas's prequels, he's discovering things out of order almost. And so that leads to some interesting, inconsistencies that you end up running into. So that one just happened to be my favorite one. Was Inglorious Rex run. He's
he's got at least a little grasp of the English language, and then he just loses it more and more each issue. No matter what time the issue actually happens.
Give me your thoughts real quick, guys, for a few minutes. What did you think of the climax? How did the book deliver at the end? And was it a satisfying payoff?
You know my opinion already. I kind of said it.
Kind of gleamed it a little bit. Yeah, I just wanted to see what the rest of the panel, had to say on it. Twitless, where do you think this landed?
Like I said before, if you, it's okay. I think it's again, if you're really invested in the fighting aspect of this series, I think you're going to feel let down. If you really are tracking the emotional journey, I think it ends fine because she's kind of gone through her arc. She made the choice. She made the hard choice. She's paid the cost, and now she's kind of just out to kind of, get her vengeance essentially. But she has paid for her moral decision and stuck with it. And now she's just going to keep fighting. And so emotionally, it feels as sort of, not 100% complete, but it feels complete enough. She does not feel like, oh, wow, she has a bunch of emotional threads hanging. Like, she has made her choice. And now she's just ready to, like, they set her up as she clawed her way up from the streets. She's going to claw her way up from this too. So like I said, that's fine emotionally, but you want to see her get her, you want to see the comeuppance. You want to see, especially after this fight that wasn't as satisfying, you would like it to end on a more satisfying fight note. So I think it depends on where you're leaning in the series.
Literature, what did you think?
I think it really hit. I think the climax is. I liked it quite a bit, mainly because it really shows you what kind of world this is. Because usually in a lot of any other story, yeah, she picks to not take a dive, but that's the right choice, and she makes the choice for the right reasons, like that. I want to inspire these kids and everything. And in any other story, it would be like, okay, yeah, little T is going to come in, and the consequences are going to be delivered. But then, like, someone else comes in and helps her. Maybe she gets beaten for a little bit, but then someone might help her or fix it, and then she comes back with a vengeance and wins anyway. Or she knocks out her opponent right before they cut off her connection, right? And or something like that could happen. But her, like, losing connection, and then her opponent just annihilating her, and then she technically loses, but not really. But she gets destroyed. Like her Rex gets destroyed. She gets put in the hospital. She's broken. That's it shows you that this is a brutal world, and that even if you choose make the right choice, it doesn't mean good things are going to happen. It is your integrity is what you sacrifice yourself for, and the question is that enough? Like, she could lose her Rex, lose her body, lose her ability to fight. Is it enough in the end of the day that she did this for the right reasons, but still got punished for it? So it does show you what kind of cruel world they're operating in. She doesn't get a hero gets out of jail free card like you would get in like a more of a lenient story. There's no white knight coming in to save her. She's going to get annihilated for her choice, and that's exactly what happens. So I thought that was kind of an interesting, like a little part of the ending there, where it really hits home the dark, cruel world of Inglorious Rex.
So Perth is asking us to give a wrap up consensus. Is it a good superhero book? And I'll pitch that question first to you, Piper.
Is it supposed to be a superhero?
Yeah. Is it?
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Okay,
no, technically,
Perth, is it a good book overall?
No, I think overall the entire series is really good. Just because I nitpick at storytelling doesn't mean the story itself is not awesome. I think the entire story is awesome. I don't I'd call it a superhero book because but there is some in Inglorious Rex. There's kind of, technically they are, some of them are technically superheroes. But I think more focus is on them and then the fighting and the but for Anna, this is not on the superheroing part at all. Like, she's not saving anybody's day.
Okay.
I just think it's a good book or a good
literature.
series.
Literature. What do you think?
I haven't read the other two. I just read Anatomic, but I enjoyed this one quite a bit. That was pretty cool. I didn't think it would be. I would enjoy it this much, but I like the stacking conflicts, I like the conflicting conflicts with her and with her choice, and then her choice ultimately being being made by the time she reaches the ring, and she makes it for the right reasons, and then she does end up winning in the beginning. Actually, her righteousness and her skill wins the day in the beginning, until evil kind of creeps in and cheats, and she gets her Rex cut off, and then she gets destroyed. But her reward in the end was that she didn't lose. She's still undefeated by technicality. So even though she made the right choice and got punished for it and nearly killed for it, there's a little bit of victory there that says, like fate says, you still are undefeated. You got a little bit of victory from that. You managed to walk away a little bit. Plus, she still won the hearts of the crowd, even though she got annihilated. And her opponent is pointing that out. Like, you did this to me. Why everyone hates me and loves you. So she still wins the hearts of the crowd. So there are some victories in the end, even though there's also some major losses.
Twitless in 3 minutes or less.
I nerded out on the fight thing because I think superhero fights are becoming a lost. They're becoming a lost art. People would just skip to the end of fights, and in classic comics they would really like milk them. One of the best superhero fights is Spider-Man versus Scorpion. It's like the whole freaking issue. It's just like 3 rounds of them going at it and having different strategies each time. I love that stuff. So a series like this is just. It's exactly kind of the thing that attracts me. I want to see the characters fight it out. I remember I think it was Boom that did Deathmatch, which is supposed to be a superhero kind of Hunger Games deathmatch thing. Also got too wrapped up in plot, and I was like, I'm here for the superhero fights. Darn it! So this is not a superhero book, although I'd call it a superhero influenced book. You can clearly see the influences there. I think it's much more interested in being, about martial arts and, giant monsters. I think things that Shane loves. I also think there are moments I'd love, if we ever had a chance to talk to Shane, there's a line that's said that felt so raw and real that I'm like, is this something, where did this come from, Shane? What prompted this moment? And the moment is where, when, I know. When anyway, Anatomic is winning her fight, and she says, how could I have lost to you? I was supposed to lose to you, you're nothing. And it's like, I was supposed to give up my chance. And I was like, that felt personal. So I'd love to ask Shane, like, if that came from a personal place. I love this. I like this series. I think it's one of the strongest CG series overall. I think it's letting me down personally in how it's delivering some of its material. Don't give me spoilers, but I do need enough to get more fully invested in how these mechanics work so I can really be on the edge of my seat, which is where I think this series belongs.
All right, time for wish fulfillment. Twitless, you do get to talk to the man himself, Shane Davis, the hardest working man in independent comics. Please welcome the creator of Annatomic. Welcome, Shane. We can't hear you. You're muted.
I think it's muted. There we go.
All right.
Shane.
Wait, whoa. Okay. Am I fine?
There we go.
Yeah.
Am I here?
Yeah.
Wow. Let's
Wow.
go. You want to ask me before we get off into the weeds because you need the technicalities of the fight. No, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
You want to know, is that line personal? Not really. It just I kind of build up these characters in my head like for a long time. So I kind of have her figured out. She's kind of she has a savior complex, doing with her dad. In her head, the only thing she's got left is fighting. And she believes in fighting, and the idea that she's going to get in front of a crowd and lose, is very insulting to her, especially when the person's that bad. So that's kind of where that line came from. It wasn't, it was raw, and it kind of fits where it is, but it's more of a reflection of her. It's nothing personal.
Twitless, does that answer your question?
It does. Although I always love to see where if that line wasn't personal, I know that the series overall has a lot of you in it. So I'd love to hear, invite you to speak more about where, if that spot wasn't, where are some of the places where it's like that came from somewhere personal?
Well, so a lot of stuff. Okay, so I've been doing martial arts since like 2010, and I I mean I've been through multiple fight camps, and every fight camp can have anywhere between 2 people to 10 people. And fight camps, whether I was competing or I was just part of a fight camp, it usually is a lot of hours and a lot of personalities, and people have different reasons why they're fighting. Some people, they just kind of naturally ended up in it. Some people have really bad home lives. So I would be lying if I said that all of this is personal, because if it is, it's because of either people I've met or known. There's a line from Inglorious Rex 1 where at the beginning of it, Alex says, at the very beginning, when he's getting his ass kind of beat in a kickboxing match, he kind of quotes his late brother to himself about tired is something you leave at home. Tired is what you go home to and sleep with at night. Yeah, that whole line was some old guy in a gym somewhere holding pads said that shit to me once. Like,
Oh, okay.
That's interesting to know,
like,
though.
it's personal, but not personal. It's other people's shit. You hear enough of these lines, they just kind of like, that's fucking cold. This is cold shit, buddy. So, I guess I've picked up some personalities from just that circuit. And I've known people that put promotions together and people that set matches up, and sometimes they're shady. Sometimes there's a lot of personalities, egos in fighters, and they're similar but completely different.
So does the series draw mostly from your experience as a fighter, or are you taking from other materials? Because it seems like there's a lot of components here. It's got the kaiju aspects, it's got the martial
Yeah.
arts aspects. So, but then you're also
I-
trying to do character focused stories.
There's all right. I'm gonna try to boil it down the quickest way I can. So I had a pitch that didn't go anywhere that was about a space city, and this was for DC, that was at the edge of a like black hole, right? And as ships are getting pulled in, they start piling up together, and they kind of compile resources in normal kind of sci-fi trope. But the kick was, without going into what character it was or anything, is like the city holding its shit together despite being on the edge of oblivion, right? And I was like, that's interesting. Like all these people living together, like, and they're so close to just being wiped off the map. Like, how do they keep their shit together? Like, are there riots? All of this, right? Around the same time, I went to Italy, Naples, and I went to Rome, and I went to the Colosseum. And you see the Colosseum on TV, movies, whatever, but until you actually are walking to the Colosseum and how all roads go to the Colosseum, and you walk in there, it kind of washes over you, like how like a whole I don't know, a people, a city, a unified community was like just like everything was held together, no matter how poor they were, as long as they could see 2 motherfuckers kill one another.
Mm-hmm. A whole society.
And then when I lived in Singapore a little bit, I would go to Thailand, and Thailand was really big about that. I had the luxury of having a handler. His name was Peck. He's dead now, but he had like 125 fights. He's banned from one of the arenas. He's missing one eye. And he told me, he's like, I got kicked out of this arena over here. I can't go in with you. You have to go in on your own, because he would take me to gamble, because I couldn't gamble. Like, you have to have a handler gamble for you. And I was like, okay, so why can't you go in this arena? He's like, because they wanted me to take a dive and I wanted to be champion. So they just kicked me out of the arena after I won. And I was like, that's fucking gold. It's fucking gold. But walking around in Thailand, like dirt poor people living in dirt, I've seen people like take showers with water hoses in Bangkok. I mean, just in a garage somewhere, like they're washing cars all day and then they're just washing themselves with water hoses. Is really and at the end of the day, they're sitting on a corner with a TV set, all hunched over, like 8 of them, watching a Thai fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's a religious holiday and there's not a fight, they're kicking rocks and cussing. I mean, this whole city, this group of people are held together by violence and watching violence, and it's their escapism. And a lot of these things that like going back to when I was at Rome. So then I went to Pompeii, where I saw and got to walk around, and again, a whole different feeling walking around Pompeii, where it's like people. Here's a guy covered in ash with, you can see the mummified ash guy with like part of his skull showing, and I'm behind a glass. I'm like, this is fucked up. A whole city just gone just like that. Soldiers came back and they couldn't find their home. It's like, I don't know, a lot of these things, I was like, this kind of all gels. These things you can kind of mix and match and put together. And that's honestly where I came up with most of this.
It's that the instinct to survive is the single tying thread. That's the last thing that is common to humanity at the very end of all things. So if you're living at the edge of a black hole and about to die, the only thing that you can identify with and connect to is seeing people fighting for survival.
So my follow-up question is did you watch Godzilla while also in Rome?
No.
Where does the kaiju part come in?
I've always liked Godzilla as a kid. Like I found my old VHS the other day in storage. Like I was surprised I still had it. Like because I don't even have VHS player. Like I've always liked Godzilla. But I also liked when I worked on Superman Earth 1. I had to deal with Parasite in one of the volumes, and we worked in. And I said, this guy needs to be able to evolve. Like he should be different when he takes Superman's powers. It doesn't make sense. Like, how does he take away Superman's powers, but he doesn't change, So I started working in like that concept of evolution a little bit in a previous book. And I guess I kind of just drug that over here, into this and worked off of that. Yeah.
I got questions in the chat. Yeah. Loading Shot wants to know, how does this all relate to your comic book?
Because this is about my comic book. Buy a book, Loading Shot. Buy a book. Why don't you?
It's kind of gay having Loading Shot in the chat.
Lit Devil brought up a point. What was it you were saying about the ending?
Oh, the whole thing where it's like, well, I said a couple of things, and I think one of them was that it really hits home that the world of Inglorious Rex is a harsh and dark one, one that she made the right choice for the right reasons, and usually that is rewarded in a big way. Some white knight will come in to save her or change the thing so that she will not receive the inevitable evil consequences brought upon by evil, and so. That didn't happen. She got annihilated. She got destroyed. She almost died. Yeah. But she still ended up with a few victories, which is important. One, she was able to survive. And two, she still maintained her undefeated status because the referee called it due to her opponent doing something illegal in the end and making an illegal shot at her.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah. So one of the things it's kind of missed at the beginning. But Sophia actually makes a bit of a rant in a little tease office at the beginning that you're setting me up. Everybody loves her and you're wanting the city to hate me. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, Sophia's left there defeating her. And Sophia's like, everybody hates me. It's your fault. So I kind of, I wanted my cake and eat it too. So I wanted Annatomic to lose, but then I was like, I can't end the book that way. She has to win. So how does she win? She wins by not compromising herself, not technically losing, and Sophia loses. What Sophia feared happened.
The Pyrrhic victory.
Suffered the failure that of the Roman emperor. Like the Roman emperor wants to win, and so he wins in the ring, loses the faith of the people.
Yeah. One of the things I gotta share my screen to do this though, and let me see. All right. So I said this when I was promoting it. Hang on. Yeah. All right.
yeah.
That was right. Sorry, my bad. So I said this when I was promoting it, but so Anatomic is go ahead, pull it up. Anatomic is you guys only have the first half. So this whole book is done. This is the last page here, and it's a two-part book. So
Yeah, I figured it would need to be.
yeah, it was never. This isn't just a one and done book. So, and with that said, I had to pick a stopping point that, which was where we're at. Like there is an overall story with this, and it's only a two-part story. So I can go through some more pages and talk about some of the things that'll happen. But I'm here to answer any questions for sure.
Did you always want to build out the Inglorious Rex universe into individual characters and, have it branch out and see how many properties you could develop from that whole universe?
No. Okay, so that's a good question. And I got a really good answer for that. The answer is no. But when I built Inglorious Rex, because I always liked how Watchmen had the Minutemen thing, right? I always liked that. And if anybody knows, like there was an idea that Alan Moore would actually write a story about the Minutemen later, right? Never happened. Eventually DC Comics would go and break that seal and get a bunch of writers and try to build those stories out, and they flopped, right? Because Alan Moore didn't do it. So but I liked how, in a way, Watchmen felt more like believable as a world because there was a foundation of continuity before it. And working at Marvel and DC, if I go work on Superman or I go work on Batman or any of these characters, there's already that built-in foundation, right? Because of everybody before me, right? The founding creators, the runs that nobody likes, the runs that people like. Spider-Man means something because there was a Gwen Stacy death. Was I there to read it? No, I wasn't reading then, but it's reference and it means the character has some sort of gravity to it. Same with Jason Todd being dead, with Batman. So when I built Inglorious Rex, I basically built a three-part framework in a way. The idea of when Nate, and I do this in 232 Beast mode, where Nate's the fighter, Alex is the little brother, and Ron is the coach. And Alex, as a little brother, he's too young to hold pads or really train with his brother. So he's always kind of digging around and trying to find details on his opponents and stuff. And it's kind of the bigger, brighter, happy family, right? I have that point of reference. And then there's the after Nate dies, Anatomic's kicked out of the gym and he's sworn off of Rex fighting and that period of time, which is what this series does. So 232 Beast Mode kind of follows the other one with Nate. Anatomic obviously is before Inglorious Rex, and I had all this stuff built out, and I eventually I was like, I think I need to do the Anatomic story because I don't think I'm ever going to tell her story in the main book. And in a lot of ways, I like her better than Alex.
She's got the booty.
Well, why is that?
Her motives are different. So, and you guys were talking about Piper. You were talking about the ash can, right?
Yeah, that I learned a lot about her from such a short.
Yeah. So we let me just pull this up. So we actually are touching in book 2 with the dad and how she used to have to fight for money for his medicine, which is back into that story. It comes up in that book because she's at a point where I end the book is in going into book 2. She's at a point where she could walk away from Rex fighting. She maybe never steps back. She never gets Razorback. She's going to have to go to Little T. All this is set up at the end. So she's at this point of like, why do I fight, period? Not why I'm a Rex fighter, but why was I fighting to begin with? So we're going to go back and touch upon that in book 2. And that's kind of why
I'm happy to know it's going to get put in there because that was my favorite part about her.
Yeah, well, that's why I like her more. Going back to Twitless, is she has a savior complex. For people don't know, in the Ash Can or in the original what was it, supplemental book. So going back to Troy and the kids fighting in the alley, she used to fight for money for medicine for her sick dad. You like that swole eye? Does that turn you on, Woden?
Gosh.
He's got a fetish.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
he's got a fetish. So
Self-reporting there.
yeah. So as a kid, this is Annatomic. She would basically, here she's telling this scenario here. Troy's like wrapping her hands for a fight, and she's like, I need twice as much money for medicine for my dad, and I have a cracked rib. And he's like, I can't put you in a fight with a cracked rib. So she convinces him, just give me the one big fight. I can't fight 2 fights. Give me the one big fight, and it's against a girl twice her size. And this is all for money. So she, for her dad's medicine. I mean, she has like a savior complex in this sense that she only got into fighting because she needed to pay for medicine for her dad. Obviously her dad dies, and in the end she finds out the only thing she's left with is the ability to fight. That's the only thing she has to live for, is fighting. Now from there, she starts to, that starts to build who she is as a character, and there's always something worth saving. And that's going to be the citizens of Arc City, and that's her drive to become a Rex pilot. And that's why I like her as a character sometimes more than Alex, because they both end up in the same place, but in 2 different reasons.
You like her? You like her altruism more?
It's yeah. I mean, I without spoiling things with book 3, Inglorious Rex 3 or 4, at this point, yeah, I like her more as a character. I like her motivations a little bit more. I think there's some sort of something special about her being tormented about failing. It's kind of like that Spider-Man Uncle Ben thing, where it drives her to do like it. Uncle Ben drives Spider-Man to try to stop, I don't know, guys getting mugged and getting shot like his uncle, whatever. Right. In her sense, like she's got nothing. She's got no family. She's got Alex, but she only can understand trying to save people. That's it. And she failed at it. And but yet there's a whole city. If she could become a Rex fighter, a good one, maybe she can save the city, and maybe that'll, clean that sin of not being able to save her father.
It's interesting that you gravitated towards a character with a motivation to save people in an environment where everybody is just struggling to survive. Why would that be an overriding instinct for her when everybody is in such a state of desperation that she still wants to help and save others?
Because that's what she was. That's the situation with her dad. Her dad was terminally ill. He was never going to live. At best, she was just buying time with the medicine, and it's how she's wired. Because I mean, I don't know what age we decided on, but maybe she's 14 here. So it's kind of like that tragic upbringing, in a way, a responsibility on the child that should have never been there, that kind of warps her psyche, and again gives her that savior complex.
Interesting. I'm not ignoring your questions, Berth, so I'll bring one up. Do cats exist in the Inglorious Rex world?
I haven't drawn one in yet. I mean, I don't know.
But more importantly, do Starlight cats exist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the weirdest thing, is I keep my books separate, like they're all separate worlds. This is probably the first time I've had two books that actually connect continuity wise. So, I don't know. Everybody wants to build a universe, and to me, it's nightmarish. All the years I worked at DC, like especially with DC characters, some of those characters should not be in the same universe. Like they don't make sense. Like Wonder Woman, the Spectre, the Demon. Like some of these characters, like the Demon and Spectre, makes sense, but Wonder Woman with Greek gods, it's just so weird. when you think about it. So and working around books and continuity. Oh, this character's over here in this book doing this month, so you can't have it. It's like it just seems like a nightmare.
Yeah,
So
I really, really hate the big shared universe because it feels like if I'm into Inglorious Rex, but I need to get into every other thing you do in order to understand what's happening in Glorious Rex. I don't like that. I don't like when people do that.
yeah. Twitless, you had said like you wanted to see more just on the actual mechanics of the fighting in this book.
Without
right?
without getting, because I know I could tell like there's certain cards that need to be played at the right time. So I'm not asking for spoilers. I do think that certain payoffs would get me personally more invested in them if I have just enough. I think that's currently where I sit on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. It's again, Lit Devil kind of sees what I was going for, at least in this book, and that was going to be because one thing when I did this, I always said it's going to be a supplemental kind of world building book, with Annatomic. So I didn't want to do what I normally did with normal Inglorious Rex book, which is now completely outside, and you guys will see in 3 and stuff where we're going with that, and we're going to deal with like the kinetic energy stuff a lot in 3 and 4. It plays a bigger role into the overall story with 232. No spoiler, but the with this book, I really wanted it to be more about not just Annatomic, but Little T. How low will he go? How criminal Arc City is. I want to establish that more and more. Hint at stuff with Nate, and mislead you guys what happens with Nate. Nobody really has guessed what happened with Nate, by the way. And get and throw the readers off a little bit with Annatomic with that. But I mean, as far as the fighting goes, in book 2, obviously there's a rematch, right? We all know that. Or maybe we don't.
Right. Oh yeah, and Cthulhu shows up.
A lot of the issues with the first fight are going to come back up in the second fight. And that's her dealing with the actual scorpion tail after being stung by it and trying to adapt physically to the physical threat. Because in book 2, again, this gets into spoilery stuff, but I showed this image already. Alex will become her cornerman in book 2. So the idea that can happen again is eliminated. So in book 2, it is all going to be physically what you're talking about. Like once we eliminate the Little T threat.
So we'll get what we want in the next.
Yeah.
All right.
And I mean, it's just where we're going with it. And I always, it's weird. It was written as one book, but for 2 parts. So the ending, a lot of people like it. And I did lean into more like just the character stuff rather than the physical stuff, I guess.
But it sounds more like you just needed to find somewhere to split it into 2 books.
Yeah, well, but I also wanted to end it in the sense that, Annatomic still technically won morally and technically, and Sophia technically lost also to the city. And a lot of it's set up for 2. None of this sounds too interesting now that I just explained it. Yeah.
Well, to me, what I want to see more of personally is I want to see a little more of the mechanics explained, just so I can start, like watching a fight. You start kind of theory, even if you're a complete amateur and you don't know what you're talking about, you're still enjoying seeing. Oh, I see. He theorizing about the strategy of what they're doing, the techniques they're using, so you feel like you're riding along with it. Mm-hmm. And even if your predictions are wrong, you're having fun making them. And there's a lot of fun in superhero or sci-fi fights that really come right down to that. Like all the people on the forums who say Hulk versus Thing, and you get right into the nitty gritty of like, does Hulk's anger level have to reach this point? Can Thing finish the fight with his toughness before X? People love just going at it. And that's a chunk of the fun. And so the piece, I'm seeing some wonderful ingredients. The ultra round and the strategy of it, I'm imagining like, man, if I could plan a Rex, which I also need to know about how much they can like plan the design of these things. But if I could plan one, I would plan a Gamera type Rex who just turtles till round 5. And then he just all the energy and then blows out. And then all he has to do is just turtle. And you have to overcome that.
You're not going to be happy till Inglorious Rex 4, man. I'm sorry.
All right.
You're just not going to be happy till you get there.
All right. Well,
but a lot
I
of
was going to say on the main series, it looks like you are learning a bit at a time about how each of them works and stuff like that. It's just feeding it to you not as fast as you want. I think that's and not in this anatomic at all.
Well, the kinetic stuff is a bigger thing with 232, and it was there in Inglorious Rex 2, and it comes up again in Inglorious Rex 3, but it's a major thing in Inglorious Rex 4. But it's a big it's there in front of everybody. When 232 hits the ground, he jumps off the building with the giant kinetic blast.
Right.
That actually wakes up King Vile. Like, there's a lot of the kinetic stuff that's going to be more of a 232 thing. I'll be honest. When I came up with it, I just liked the idea, of uneven rounds and there being one deal breaker. Rexes need to fight to stop the Vile, not turtle up and let the Vile destroy the city. Yeah, so there's also that aspect of it. That's why it's only pretty much unlocked in one round, because the idea is, I think I've said this before, but the idea of these things would be like that they understand their range of motion. They understand how to angle, move, hit, strike, continue to fight, pace themselves, breathe, not gas out. A lot of these are problems Alex faces in book 2 and even in book 1. So the kinetic thing is not just about getting hit, but it's also just about building force from movement. Like, the power of a punch actually comes from your legs. It actually comes from you engaging the ball of your foot and punching into the ground. That's where all the force behind a punch. So technically, if Rexes are able to build kinetic energy, they're kind of already doing it just by punching. So it's not just about being hit, if that makes sense.
Okay. Because a punch is a full body thing. Even a jab, you turn your entire body to jab. It's punching is a full body thing. It's a big weight of the Rexes really comes into play with these things. Like, there's a lot of damage that can be done, especially if they do it right.
I do think that's a good point. I do think she brought up a good point that I didn't even consider, is that these fights are, they're entertainment and stuff, but the Rexes weren't technically for this entertainment and stuff. Mm-hmm. They were for something specific.
They're for both. They're
used. They're used.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I'm trying to explain a little bit more, or at least show it in some pages in Inglorious Rex 3.
Okay.
But the city, not just by being distracted about the shit going on outside, but watching Rexes dominate. You got this Conor McGregor Rex coming in there, showboating and all that. That actually gives them hope against, they just watched this giant monster rip another monster's head. Well, he must be our savior about what's outside.
Right.
That's why the turtling aspect wouldn't be.
Au contraire, though, Arc City, the way I see it, Arc City is a kind of turtling approach. So what I'm saying is that I think you have some interesting dynamics at play that oppose each other. You have some forces pulling against. Like Arc City is essentially a fortress. It is a castle doctrine approach to facing the outside world. The monsters are the aggressive approach. So you have both. You have both approaches going on because a chunk of Glorious Rex 2 is dealing with shut the doors, shut the doors away from the monsters, keep them out. So yeah, both of those dynamics, I personally see both of those dynamics at play.
Yeah. Now, because I've worked ahead, and I know it's been talked about because I've already done 232 Beast Mode number 2 and Glorious Rex 3, but there is the strategy. I know I've had to use it before, but see, this is where I'm like, what's in my head and what have I put on paper? I know I've used it at least once, but there is a strategy that you cut them off before you get to the 5th round. And a loser might be you need to weather it till you can get to the 5th round. But your opponent is, I'm not letting it go to the 5th round. It's kind of like the idea that you don't want to let it go to the judges. So the idea of the kinetic round would, there's going to be two schools of thought. If you're losing, hang in there. Maybe you win it in that 5th round. If you're winning, don't let it get to the 5th round and give them the chance to win. Cut it off in the 4th or 3rd round.
I love what that does to strategy in a fight, because if you have like these different guys with different abilities, and it's like, okay, how's this guy going to leverage his, like, again, is he going to gas? Is he going to risk for gassing? Like, can you play to that 5th round? How will you, is your Rex better at doing the 5th round? Does he have better ability to channel that kinetic energy? My mind just lights up with all these awesome possibilities for how these fighters would approach. So I just want to see, I would love to see that. I feel like the ingredients are all there. I think that's
it's there. And I know I've that strategy does come up. In I want to say maybe in Glorious Rex 1 it's mentioned, but I know I'm doing it even in 3 or 232 Beast Mode number 2. Unfortunately, all comics, you end up just against the wall of, am I servicing the story? Mm-hmm. One of the big problems I'm having with Inglorious Rex is the concept is very massive. And I tried to stay on path with the human character. A lot of people, and I saw Jeff Johns talking about this with his Ghost Machine stuff, but so many people are getting hung up on the world building aspect that they skip past any type of believable protagonist or a protagonist you care about. And I'm in the same school of thought. Like, I don't know, at some point in time, like, everybody got so consumed with like different tribes and clans of people and stones and colors and whatever, and war paint and all the little detail trying to be like Tolkien, that nobody actually sat down and said, but do you care about the character going through this world you built? So I have like all these notes put aside for me and Yanzi when we're working on this. Like, I have a very big timeline here of events and fights and stuff like that. It's just, does it service the story? Can I put it in there? And sometimes we just end up with excess that it just doesn't fit, and I'm trying to force it to fit. And it like all this fighting stuff, the cage fighting stuff, I'm pretty much out. Like, outside of a flashback, we're out of that in Inglorious Rex 3 and 4. That's also why I wanted to do Annatomic, is to keep that aspect of this book there for the reader. It's just that is my one thing I don't like about Inglorious Rex, is the how massive the concept is as a writer.
I did notice the scope. Yeah, like even seeing the size of the Cthulhu type monster, the vile, lord.
Yeah.
As opposed to them, I was like, okay, like this, we've completely changed the scope of what we're doing. That was a very important page.
Like, I have a story for why Arc City even exists. And it's not because of the vial. And see, I would just tell you right now, but it's like I might use that, and I might not. Sure. But in my brain, I know why that city exists, and it makes complete sense if I told you. And it has nothing to do with the monsters outside. And it's like, I don't know, man. I wish I could do more of these and get them out quicker, because I could always just tell these stories. Like in Inglorious Rex 3, we have a supplemental story drawn by Chris Graves, and the whole thing follows two hatchling Vile. The whole story is like a Disney nature documentary with the lemmings. It's it's like these two little guys just running around getting eaten by other Vile, and what's the purpose of a Vile, and what's their life cycle look like, and all of that. Why? Because I need to explain that, but I can't do that in the main book. So it's
The
I
hard
don't
thing
know.
about balancing world building is you can make a whole bunch and maybe half of it will ever see the light of day.
Ever
Yeah.
see the light of day. It's like and that's where it's like,
If I
in a
could
way, with Inglorious Rex, my biggest critique of Inglorious Rex is there is a book where it's just these guys with giant monsters fighting, and that's it. There is no outside world. There is no greater threat. They're just doing this for sport. But in my head, that doesn't make sense. Like, why would you do that? Why would you just not be dudes fighting, right? And that's
Yeah.
where a lot of the building of Inglorious Rex started happening in the framework in my brain way back when, in like 2010. And at some point, I think it kind of maybe got away from me. And I'm trying to really keep a story focused. I've always said this was about a family that was torn apart by a fight, and a fight that would eventually bring this family back together. And that's the main Inglorious Rex book. With Anatomic, it is pretty much focused on like her. It's weird. I wanted to again do something different, showcase Little T, some other characters, give more of a foundation of the crime syndicate of Arc City and how crooked things would be. And again, showcase Anatomic, but I don't know if I would just, if this wasn't also helping me, flesh out some aspects of Little T and stuff like that, I probably wouldn't have done the series.
Well, so sorry, that's a lot to unpack. Yeah. It sounds like you're trying to wrangle a monster down and
Aha!
contain it.
Yeah.
Well, let's try to center it and ground it. So here, Perth Comics is saying, is Shane reusing Peck's real life stories for his comics? So how personal is the story of Inglorious Rex? How much do you draw from personal experience, people you've met, things that you think, your perspectives on life? How much of this is reflected in Shane Davis on the pages of Inglorious Rex?
Well, a lot of people are going to say like the dead brother thing. Your brother's dead. Yeah, my brother's dead, but that was my younger brother, not my older brother. I don't have an older brother. So some aspects are
I'm very
based
sorry.
off my
Your brother
life,
passed
but
away.
What?
I'm very sorry about that. That your brother
No,
passed
it's
away.
fine. It's fine. Everybody knows I wrote it in the forward to Superman Earth 1. It's in the forward. So it's been out there since like 2010. Everybody knows. But that aspect is not what people think. There's nothing about like really Nate that is anything like my brother. And as far as that goes, like if anything, most characters, if anything's coming from aspects of my life, it would be the idea of loss, and the idea of a dead sibling or the idea of a dead parent are things that like it's not so much that they're personal is why they're in there. They're easy things that a reader can relate to. And they can cause a reader to have easy investment in the character right away. And it automatically it builds situations where you need resolutions or the character growth to get past that. Stuff like that. But in a way, I was kind of more influenced by Cain and Abel in a weird way. A different take on it. Arc City also kind of like Noah's Ark. There's a lot of these things in there. Personal, more or less the fighting stuff, I guess, some of the terminology and stuff, the combination 232, things like that. I mean, they're real life aspects, but I wouldn't say they're I guess they're all like things of people I either know or I've heard or I understand to some degree. If that, I don't know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Like I think there's sometimes a misunderstanding when some people talk about what we're drawing from. The details don't have to be like one to one, like allegory, in order for it to be important to come from you and to relate to you. So those ideas like loss of personal loss. It doesn't have to be like the exact sibling order in order for it to really be drawing from a well that connects to you. But I'm really interested because you're dropping some biblical allusions. Like, is that just from some personal experience from Sunday school that was interesting, or is there
Yeah, I
a
mean, I
deeper
came up
connection
from a
there?
really, yeah, I came from a very Christian background. So like Southern Baptist. Like, so yeah, I mean, like that stuff's just kind of gonna be in my head whenever I do these good versus evil stories, those little hints of things are gonna be in there. Not to the full extent, like it's not going to be a one for one, like you said. It's just little hints, and again, I think that type of allegory stuff, like or whatever you want to call it, homage. Those things, people they hit the audience, and it's weird. Like in storytelling, you have limited amount of time to try to convince people of your story. You have to kind of hook people into things. And even if they like this story, like you're like, hey, I would have liked to see more action. I just have to hook you to get you to the thing you want. I don't have to give it to you. I just have to manipulate you into you're going to get this in the next book. That's a weird way of talking about storytelling, but it is in the framework of writing comics.
It's a very T way of describing it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
do
it
have
sounds cool, but keep in mind, I've been around so many people making books forever. Like, you kind of want to tease people that that's what I liked about what you were saying, Twitless, is you're like, I wanted to see her deal with the physical aspects of the fight more. And then as you can see, yeah, that's the big payoff in two is little T can't jump in and she actually will deal with these things. On her account.
I have a weird random question. Well, I don't know what's weird, but it's random. I don't know where it fits in. But
Yeah.
do we in any probably in the main series, do we eventually find out what happened to their mom?
Yeah, about that.
Oh dear.
The
I do not
it's
like
funny.
spoilers, but she was brought up, so I was like, you know what? I didn't think about that until she was brought up in
Yeah. That's a big part of issue 3, and that's all I can say about it.
Oh, okay. I just need to hang on and hold my horses. And well, yeah, that is why I said, are we going to? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a
Sweet.
big part of 3. It's a big part of 3.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah. It is, and that's kind of my style of writing. Is I you kind of put bait out. Kind of you throw out a little piece here. I mean, in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
in Glorious Rex, in the main book, I'm misguiding people on purpose, and it'll make sense when you read 3.
All right.
And then where we're going in 4. There's 2 secrets. I've said this before. There's 2 secrets. There's Alex's secret in 3, and then there's Nate's secret in 4. And then that's going to bring me to the point where I can jump off the series.
So, Shot has no chill, and he doesn't want to wait for wait to read the end. He just wants you to tell us how it ends. Do you have the idea of like making it a finite series, kind of like a manga, or do you want it to just be this expansive world that continues to grow and has ongoing stories as long as you want to tell them?
All right. So I wrote it to end at 4, with the possibility I can continue. But I could easily walk away from it and be done. Okay. Real world talk. I've been contacted by a book agent that wants to put Inglorious Rex in bookstores. I'm talking like Barnes and Noble and things like that.
Dude, that's awesome.
I don't know what it'll do in the major market. I don't know if there will be another wind in this that I need to continue it. But at this moment, it's written that I can walk away at 4 and do something else. And Inglorious Anatomic would be done in Anatomic 2. Although, I mean, there's X amount of time before book 1, and I could fit in another Anatomic story if I want, but it's really all going to be like, it would have to be more just about her, not about the overall plot and timeline, because that's kind of all established, you know? Like at the end of Anatomic 2, you will understand her relationship with Alex a little more than what you guys think.
One Shot is claiming credit for that phone call, by the way, of you being published.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the idea is like people really seem to like it, and we've kind of are retaining a majority of our readership. With it's here's it gets complicated, man, because so we sold in Glorious Rex 1, we sold a lot of original artwork, which pumped up the numbers a lot on the campaign, and we don't sell that much original artwork anymore. Like, so most of our sales now, when you compare the campaign to campaign, is actually based off of book sales. And the readership is kind of plateauing, which is not normal when you're 3 books into something. So I don't know. Like, I don't want to take the audience for granted and pretend there's room for an Inglorious Rex 5. Like, I may be done in Inglorious Rex 4, and I'm writing it, like I said, where I can walk away.
Do you expect the readership normally to climb by book?
In mainstream comics, they do, but it's really weird, man. So the way the mainstream comics is ordered, like nobody has book 1 when they're ordering issue 3, so there's just normally a huge drop off, and then sometimes, like, you know, they pick back up on issue 4, or maybe if there's a 5th month that people do have 3, they have 1 right before they have to put in their final order cutoff for 3. But there is always this dip, and maybe it stabilizes or it bounces up a little bit. It's just the way comics have always sold. So I am seeing like people hanging in and being invested in the main book's story, but I'm also writing it like this isn't Spider-Man in his daily adventure. So I basically have worked myself into a corner where I am going to have a jumping off point if I want. If it picks up, I did build myself a back door where I could do more. So that's where we're at with that.
Rachel Brinkley says the jumping off point could be Starlight Cats. So people have been asking for you to get back to that series at some point. Are there any future plans?
Yeah, we're gonna reprint the 16-page supplemental story, which almost only 10% of the people that ever bought Starlight Cats ever got. So we're gonna reprint that for Back Me Bro that we're gonna be launching soon. I'm working on a cover for it, and that's just gonna be like a new printing, because there's no sense in us just printing up the supplemental on its own. So we're just gonna put it all together for an ultra edition of it. And I do want to do more, but right now, like, everybody's kind of like hanging on to what I'm doing next with Inglorious Rex, and it's like it's one of these situations where I can't make everybody happy. I'm lucky I can get 1 book out like a year and a half, like right now. So it's the idea of me trying to do 2. It just seems like I'm just going to end up with a situation where I end up with like people buying Starlight Cats, but I can't get it to them.
One Shot's excited for Back Me Bro. So you kind of took on. It sounds like you have a lot on your plate right now. Like you're working on your books. You got Back Me Bro. You're going to be published possibly in bookstores.
Well, I'll be published. I'll be distributed. It's an agent distributor. It's just somebody getting the book, in the stores. Technically, I guess I am still the publisher, but yeah, it's a lot. The Back Me Bro thing is like something I never thought we would have to do. I don't know. Is everybody familiar with what's going on with Indiegogo?
Yeah, it's like a dumpster fire over there.
It's hell. It's become very strange. And also, I'm
Yeah.
getting endless spam letters. Endless. It's just I get
Yeah.
5 a day
Yeah.
or more.
What's
Yeah,
the
they're spamming. They basically
I'm
are.
curious though.
what's the TLDR on that?
Oh, I was curious about something different. So-
Oh, sorry, the TLDR on Indiegogo.
My opinion, and it's an opinion, is I'm gonna talk about it closer to the launch of Back Me Bro. But my opinion is GameFound bought it to farm all the gaming people from Indiegogo onto their site, GameFound.
yeah.
And my fear is I don't know, once they're done with that, I don't know what they're going to do with Indiegogo. Maybe they'll keep it, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll sell it off once they funnel that out. I remember I worked for Blockbuster, and DirecTV bought Blockbuster, and the first thing every Blockbuster had a DirecTV little standy TV, display as soon as you walked in the door.
Mm-hmm.
And DirecTV just bought Blockbuster to sell everybody DirecTV and shut down Blockbuster. So technically, are they doing that? Was there that much money in gaming? The tabletop gaming stuff is huge. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with it, to be honest. That's my fear, is that's the only reason they bought it.
Actually, no, Piper had a question.
Oh yeah. My question was, you're making Back Me Bro. What your I'm sorry, I got distracted by the chat. What is your opinion on Fund My Comic?
I haven't ever used them, so I don't have much to go off of. I know Luke Stone built it. I know it came up. I only know the facts. I know it can't. My site, Nine Lives Comics, was kind of coming around the same time that Fund My Comics happened. I've had people on my channel selling books on Fund My Comic, and that's the only thing I know about it. I think I've been on stream with Luke maybe once or twice before. From my understanding, he's a good guy. That's pretty much it. If the real question is did I ever want to do a crowdfunding site that would be a competitor for him? The answer is no.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, like, the decision to go make your own versus moving to Fund My Comic, but it sounds like you were already doing the making your own around the same time.
Yeah.
Sounds like okay.
And even to Back Me Bro, I'll be honest, I don't want to do it. There's nothing but headaches that are going to come to my table with this. Nothing but. I haven't even launched it yet, and I got a million headaches from it. I'm thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. I'm having to hire lawyers, all of this stuff. All money coming from our household, I'm not really.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I mean, like, and that's not even to say all the hate from it, that's down the road. So to me, this is like worst case scenario for me. It's great for everybody else, but it's horrible for me. I mean, I just want to make comics.
Yeah.
Now, and then there's people like, well, that's the wrong type of attitude. Look at you. It's like, what do you want me to say? I never went out here and wanted to be like on a crowdfunding site. But the problem is the success of Nine Lives Comics. I've had a lot of people ask, can I get on your site? They don't want to go to Fund My Comic. They actually want to be on Nine Lives Comics. And I don't know enough about Fund My Comic. I don't know enough about anybody else's site to say, why are they asking me for that? I don't know, but most of my audience backs me on Nine Lives Comics. They don't want to mess with Indiegogo. Even before Indiegogo screwed up, they were going to my website. So I don't know. I feel like my problem is, Piper, if I had to be honest, is I can do it, and it needs to be done, and I don't want to do it, and that's probably why I need to be the guy to do it.
You're reluctant. Yeah. No, that tracks. That definitely tracks. I was curious since that was floating around. It's an alternative already.
No,
hanging out as an alternative, but so I was curious. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I always said to her as a contingency plan, okay, way before this Indiegogo thing, if we had to, I said, Yanzi, if we had to make a website for everybody in this group, how long would it take? And I'm talking, I was saying this a year ago. The more I saw people going to my website and preferring my website, that's when I asked her. Now, I only asked is like, if we had to. The answer has been we never wanted to. But I said, if we had to, if the sky falls tomorrow, how long would it take for us to turn this around? And we're like, I would say about 85% done with the site.
Nice. Okay.
But with that said, here's the thing. We have to do closed beta, then open beta. Closed beta is going to be people we invite to come on. Open beta would be people that, asked to go on and then we approve, and then open to the public. So there's going to be like 3 stages. Now, part of the holdup is like, we can't stop everything we're doing to answer emails. So we have to kind of control the flow onto the site,
Yeah.
before we're just, and we have to get used to this different part of our, Yanzi especially, this different part of our day-to-day life now is support emails and stuff like that. And maybe the site makes some money and we can hire some help. But right now, we it's not in our budget. Right now, like, we're in the negative on this site.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
like, it's, but the idea of it, see, a lot of people probably, and I know, like, people out there like Vicky or somebody's out there like, this is a big power move. And it's like, man, if I ever wanted to do this, I would have never done 9 Lives Comics. It would just been back me, bro, way back when.
Yeah, you would have started there instead of
not ended up here. So, I mean, in a way, I look, man, Comicsgate has done a lot, for 9 Lives Comics. It's done a lot for Inglorious Rex, and whether or not I make it into bookstores, because anything can fall apart, but I got paperwork to look at and stuff. And we are in the age of cancel culture, but if Inglorious Rex makes it into a Barnes and Noble or on or mass market, the trades, it's like, that's because of Comicsgate. I owe a lot to Comicsgate. And it's obvious that we have had success with a site. And this is my way of saying thank you to crowdfunding. I firmly believe in crowdfunding. I know it's got problems. Nothing's perfect. But I mean, the ability to make a comic without editorial interference, without, I don't know, a Dan DiDio, and I love Dan, or a Jimmy Palmiotti, and I like Jimmy, or, and I'm going to name all these. I mean, there's something magical there that hasn't been there since like Image Comics, and what's better is it's just there. It's not going away. Crowdfunding is anything we want it to be. We can put, I mean, honestly, I think crowdfunding would be a million times bigger if Comicsgate promoted more books, and if Comicsgate got into the habit of live streams and pulling campaigns up. I think crowdfunding is only going to be as big or as small as we want it to be, and that's the magic of crowdfunding. It's not up to mega corporations.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was going to say too that the more options, the more crowdfunding sites, especially if they're catered more towards comic books or stuff we like, the better, because that's more places anybody can get eyes.
Well, yeah, I mean, but my goal is like never, if I could get collections into bookstores. I mean, I crack open royalty checks every 3 months. My DC stuff. Here's what you're making in trades. They're not singles anymore. They're just collections. So like, I've never left bookstores. It's just everything I've been making over the last 4 years doesn't have access to bookstores.
Yeah.
So, but that's never been my goal. My goal has been, can I tell a story? Can I get you guys interested? Here's a cool idea, and make the concept and the product solid first. And then if somebody comes along and is like, I can make some money off this in the mass market, then, because a lot of people go the other way. They're like, I need that deal first before I make my idea. And it's like, I don't know, man. You have to kind of believe in ideas. You have to believe in your story, your concept, your whatever. You have to. Yeah, and that's where I'm at.
You're kind of the way I come at it, where I'm just want to tell a story, and if somebody likes it enough to give me money, that's even cooler. Like,
Yeah. I mean, you have to. I feel, but at the same time, you kind of have your business hat on at the same time. So
I mean, you have to if you're going to print it. Yeah, if you're really going to get it out there, you need the money. But
I've had the luxury to be on very successful books on somebody else's dime, and I've had the luxury on being very big flops on somebody else's dime. And I can't ever. That's one of the big things that I got to take away from mainstream comics is the flops that I was just saddled with, and there was no way I was going to get this book to be good, and it's just like learn from that.
yeah.
But where I'm at now, it's like look, I'm not even like the bookstore thing maybe works, maybe it doesn't. I'm actually surprised I made it this far with talking about it. And and you have to understand, like, we're in the world of cancel culture. Maybe I'm not allowed in bookstores. I don't know. Like, maybe I'm not allowed at C2E2. I don't know.
Sounds like you're gonna find out.
I'll find out real quick. But I mean, like, but here's the beautiful thing about crowdfunding. Whether or not I'm allowed in comic shops or not, like, nobody said I couldn't make this book, and I did.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, so, and I mean, like, I don't know. That's where, like, people, like, I had the conversation with the guy, and he was like, well, you need to give access to the books to the direct market first. And I'm like, no. I said, and he's arguing with me. I'm like, every one of these books, man, that's in comics in Barnes and Noble, they were all single issues first. They didn't go straight to that store. Like, I'm literally having I'm standing off with this guy, going toe to toe, arguing the semantics of this, that Barnes and Noble never got these books first. They were in direct market in comic shops, and then they got collected. And the guy's like, he came back, well, I guess you know about publishing. I'm like, what the fuck you, man? It's like, like don't play that card. Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like I'm gonna do crowdfunding first. I mean, and the day crowdfunding doesn't work, probably the day I quit making comics.
It would be the day some people would have to quit making comics.
No, I mean, I don't believe in the comic shops anymore, unfortunately. It's just it not because I don't believe in a comic shop owner or the guys that go to the comic shop. It's just I don't believe in the corporations that are they have really taxed the shit out of comic shops over the last.
Diamond did too much damage.
Well, it's not just that. Marvel, you'd think it was Diamond, but it was actually Marvel. Way back then. Like, all the cover incentives, order this to qualify for this one cover, go in debt. So I give you one comic you can sell for like $200, that type of thing.
They did it
across the board. They did it across the board. They caused the retailers to go in debt, which again caused Diamond to be owed money. And in the end, like, somehow Marvel and DC just run out, like, knock the bad guys, that Diamond's a bad guy. It's like, no, who built all that debt? Marvel and DC did. It's just I don't know, man.
I thought it was Diamond making a lot of those minimum order kind of.
No, that was all Marvel.
But yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that I went all the way. I know Marvel was doing the special covers crap.
Yeah, it was just incentives, the qualifying covers. It was a whole thing, and it went on for way too many years, and a lot of guys got in debt over it, and they gambled. Will the cover sell? Will they not? And sometimes the gamble paid off, sometimes it didn't, and sometimes they didn't bet when they should have bet, and they felt like they missed out. So then DC offers lenticular covers again. Everybody over orders, and then they can't sell them.
Yep.
That was a big debt that everybody saddled that they never recouped. And that's the thing. Like, once these retailers go into mass debt for gimmicks like that, Marvel and DC doesn't have a fucking steroid to shoot in their arm to give them the money back. They just lose that money. you know, and it happened to all. Like, I wish it was what's that saying? It's little by little and then all at
All at
once.
once. Yeah, you go out of business. You go to business little by little, and then all at once. Didn't like Image crash a whole bunch of it with Deathmate? Wasn't
Yeah, the Image crash was kind of different and the same. It was like they overproduced books that weren't drawn by the main guys, and then they were late on top of it. So the retailers were tying up a bunch of money in books that they couldn't get and sell, and being asked to buy more and more, and then eventually they just kind of like it just crashed. But it wasn't even Image; it was like the whole market did. It wasn't just like one company. It was like Marvel crashed around the same time. It was all like all kind of, because that's the weird thing about the comic shop. When they sell DC and they make the profits from a big DC event, they have extra money to order other books. And where we're at now is only like Absolute Comics are selling. So where do the retailers, they take that and order more Spider-Man books? No, they just order more Absolute books. And that's why you have this one imprint that's only selling, because it's the only thing anybody trusts right now.
They nominated 2 of those for Eisners this year. It's wild. Yeah.
What is it about Absolute? Sorry.
Yeah, Absolute. Yeah.
What is it about Absolute that earned everybody's trust? What did they do right?
I don't know. I haven't read it, to be honest. And I feel bad because somebody mailed me a copy. I haven't read it though.
I think it's I think it just captures a zeitgeist vibe. I think they're just got a finger on a pulse for that.
I wanted to ask you, because you earlier said, you know, if CG gets back to sharing books and talking about the books, do you feel like that mission went awry at some point and that the train needs to get back on the track? Or do you think all of the promotion aspect?
Well, I have a weird perspective because I'm like thousands and thousands of dollars in debt for a crowdfunding platform.
Yeah.
So like, take with what I say with a grain of salt. Like, you know, maybe I'm wearing a different hat now, I guess.
Well, you've got a lot of skin in the game.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's like, it's real easy. You know, this goes back to fighting talk, and Lit Devil maybe will back me up on this. So somebody's coming at you with a combination. Maybe they're, you know, like you're supposed to disrupt them though. You know,
that is true.
I feel like we got disrupted.
What's the combo?
I ain't gonna lie. What, Hitler?
No, Hitler. When did Hitler get in this?
The Hitler combo.
What's the combo you got hit with?
Oh, damn,
No, I feel like we got disrupted a little bit. And you know, there was a lot of talk about, hey, my book's already done. Why are you buying a book that ain't already done? And that disruption was really weird, because this is crowdfunding. You know, this isn't the already made book market normally. Look, it just, you know, I have this entire book done right now. Like, and when I sell it, I'm not going to say, hey, it's already done. And even when I do sell it, I'm still going to make people wait for it. It's not going to be like already printed in my garage, because I'm going to crowdfund it. I'm not in an already done book market, you know, and I never understood that type of like one-upping, like, because it just doesn't have any tack. It's like, I don't know. I mean, people could argue that forever, and it was argued, I think, for years. And I think it became a distraction in a way. And sometimes your enemy wants you to be distracted. That's how I feel now in hindsight. And I don't think whether a book is already done or not is much of a factor when you're asking to raise money to make a cool idea.
So you think people got too wound up on whether or not they were getting their books delivered, and forgot the core of the mission?
Well, okay, there's two things. See, you took delivery, the late book thing, right? So the late book thing became ammunition for my books already done. So then the conversation then turns away from, well, but what is your book about? what is the quality of the book? Well, it's already done. And that guy's isn't. And there was a lot of utility in it by
Yeah.
anybody opposing crowdfunding. And you'd almost have to see the technique of it to understand that you've already taken the bait when you start fighting. Because the only thing you're doing is cementing your book's not already done. And the only thing they're selling is my book is done. And here's the sad part about it. There's a million books already done in the book market. Like, why are we arguing about this in the crowdfunding space? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Exactly. The book should be
If I may,
be about what story you want to read, not
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
is that not a little? I think we can get into a little binary there. I don't think it's necessarily just about the opposition of done versus not done. I think there's an additional conversation to have about what is a reasonable expectation for this system or transaction or whatever you want to call it. And I think that you've got some people who got, because maybe they were burned, they basically drew the line at the only reasonable expectation is for it to be done. And I'm not saying they're right. I'm just saying that I think that's what led to some of that conversation. But I think it is fair to have a conversation about what is a fair expectation for what this arrangement is going to be.
Yeah. And the arrangement being crowdfunding.
Right. Yeah. Like what is a fair expectation for what turnaround might look like, even if it's a ballpark. Because like it's very clear that like infinity, is not, an acceptable turnaround time. There are people who've done that. I'm still waiting on Bloody Sovereign from Huerta. So like there's a certain point where there's a certain point where a line does get crossed and it's not okay. But obviously I think making it just a binary between done, not done is not helpful. But I think it's also,
One thing I think you have to realize, because I know what you're saying, but one of the things I think everybody has to understand and realize is we're all individual companies. So any type of overall standard is kind of hard to uphold when everybody's their individual publisher. That'd be like publishing standards at Image Comics versus what's publishing standards at DC or Marvel Comics, stuff like that. So I don't know. I get the crowdfunding thing is unique in a way, but it's not. A lot of people, the pre-order system, right? The way all comics have been ordered is you're paying for something that technically doesn't exist. I've drawn Wolverine covers with no script from Gail Simone. Okay, nobody knew what was, and people were ordering. They're ordering this copy of Wolverine, and there's not even a goddamn outline. And I'm just drawing a picture of Wolverine, and everybody's ordering that issue of Wolverine. Okay, so technically, comics is kind of ran this way. It's just been kind of tight on 3 months, 6 months in some cases. So when you understand that, we're technically the only thing that's changing creator to creator is the turnaround time. So if you're going to say, well, what is the conversation about that? Then, I mean, that's a case by case. Like if you're dealing with me, you're dealing with Nine Lives Comics. If you're dealing with, I don't know, whoever, you're dealing with their comic book company, vice versa,
I was going to say the crowdfunding helps level the playing field where some people that their stories might never see the light of day have a chance to. But that also means that everybody has their range of capabilities and their range of knowledge. Some stuff takes longer than others because they're learning as they go.
Yeah. So if I could clarify, I think I agree with the sentiment that the conversation about being done, not done is not a helpful conversation. I agree entirely with Shane's sentiments there.
Well,
I'm just
but hang on. Well, let me reiterate because I don't want to get words twisted up. What
Sure.
I'm saying is it was a disruption and a distraction from the content of the books that were being sold.
I agree. And I think I completely agree with that sentiment. I'm just saying I think it's helpful to think about what it's more useful in my opinion to think about what reasonable expectations are for these individual publishers. And I think that is going to be a somewhat case by case basis. But I think it is fair to have that conversation and not have that be shut down either.
But with
But I feel
that
like
said,
that's a separate
I'm gonna
conversation.
throw out like some real situations. When I was working at DC Comics, I was in the middle of a Superman Batman run, and abruptly my brother passed. DC Comics made a Superman Batman annual to buy me an extra month, and in the end I met my deadline, didn't need it. But when I was working on Glorious Rex 2, I ripped my bicep and had to have surgery, had to have my bicep reattached, and then I had like 9 months in a cast, and I had physical therapy. And one of the side effects of the physical therapy, not physical therapy, but just the surgery, is mental fatigue, brain fog. And it delayed my book. The problem when you go with deadlines, I'm not saying everybody should have deadlines, but the reality is we're all human beings and real world shit happens. And sometimes people are going to miss deadlines. Most of my career early on was me filling in for people that were missing their deadlines. That's how I got into comics. Is Doug Mahnke, something happened to him, and I had to go fill in for him because maybe he was in a car accident, his daughter was hurt or something like that.
If I can, I would actually. Linkovich says this interesting. I think there's a difference between time and timely, right? Because time has to do like you hit a time that was set, whether you set it or someone else set it. Timely is a more of an abstract concept where you feel satisfied with the going back to like the hot dog vendors that Zach used to bring up. If the hot dog or your food comes out a few minutes late, no one bats an eye. But if the food took a year to come out, eventually you'd go, oh my gosh, it's too much. So what I'm saying is that the conversation I think should be more about what reasonable expectations are and not about like exact numbers and getting into silly arguments about you didn't meet this exact deadline or this wasn't ready exactly when you like just like, chill. Like this is an art thing. We're if you enter into it, you understand that there's going to be it's not exact. It's an art, not a science. That being said, that still means it's still okay to have reasonable expectations for timeliness. I think that's fair to have those types of conversations and to hold people to account on some level.
I think I think my hot dog is kind of shrinking from this line of questioning.
Sure.
I think actually the overarching theme here is that okay, so it worked really well in the beginning, right? Like CG was firing on all cylinders. There was a lot of aspiration and hope and ambition and optimism, and people were like, yeah, this is all gonna work out wonderfully. And then you're arguing that there was a distraction and things went off the rails a little bit. How do we get back on track? Well, so you can't put the toothpaste back in the bottle. People now have these points that they're going to bring up, these concerns. What is like an ideal framework for how this all works, as well as it did in the beginning, look like going forward, without getting into the minutia of let's have this criteria, this rule, this what is an ideal Shane Davis firing in all cylinders CG look like in your mind the next 2-3 years?
So hey, well, thanks for putting that on me.
Well read with his one good question.
You got the most skin in the game. So like if you were
and said, here, Shane, here's a grenade.
You got the most skin in the game. So like if you waved your magic wand and could make everything work perfectly how you would want it to, what does that look like?
What I think it looks like. First I'm gonna tell you what I plan to do. And then I'm going to say what I think, things will look like in the future, which it could change. I mean, I'm no, what the fuck do I know? Like, I mean, I'm just some redneck, hillbilly, all right. So first, I'm going to be, let me share the right window. If somebody's got anything to add, just add while because there's going to
While
be some
you're
dead air.
looking for some
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I've got something I can.
What if
I think it's
Shane
it's-
puts the buy and bicep?
I think it's Lit Dev's turn. He hasn't said it. We want to make sure. Are you still alive over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still alive.
Okay.
Still here.
My bad. I like talking. I was gonna say my big criteria for my and other people's campaigns is simply don't take the money and run. Just have updates. Just stay in touch with your backers the whole time. Like, let them know you are working on it instead of just radio silence disappearing. Like, don't do that.
Yeah. Communication's obviously a big thing. And everybody's see, it's such a weird question because nobody's gonna work on and do the same job at the same pace. Like I have a lot more responsibilities, than maybe somebody who's, hiring all the art out, or, vice versa, somebody that's just I'm not like, if I hire, like, say, Anthony on Anatomic, Anthony's only got to worry about drawing my pages. He ain't got to worry about fulfillment, printing, print quality, paper stock, deadlines out. I'm wrangling people for work on top of myself
instead of 20. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, I get that everybody wants like one nice rubber band answer that we can just loop everybody into. For me, I think I can't find this folder anymore. But anyways, I had shown like the Anatomic folder before where basically the book is already done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up for sale and I'm going to make everybody wait. And the reason I'm going to do that, which a lot of people are like, what? It's already done, is because I'm in the world of crowdfunding. And that's where I'm making, and I plan to stay. I'm investing in crowdfunding. I'm building a crowdfunding site. And the last thing I want to do is be a disruption to crowdfunding. So even though like the book's already done, my goal is to basically treat it like a normal crowdfunded book. Doesn't matter if 4 pages are done or the whole goddamn book's done. I'm treating it like a crowdfunded book. Because I think the system of crowdfunding and the expectation you guys are helping me raise more money, whether I can make more trading cards, whether I can give you better quality book or whatever. It doesn't matter if I'm ahead. Like I have 2 books I'm done with right now, and Anatomic 2 and 232 Beast Mode #2 by Aaron L. Fetchy. And everybody's going to wait on those books. As long as me drawing Inglorious Rex 4. It's just the system of this type of ordering a book, waiting a year, I think is really important to keep in the idea of crowdfunding. Because the truth is, a lot of people for years have been going to Comic Cons with their book, they're asshole in debt, and they have their banner and they made a few copies or stack of copies at their Kinko's, and they fill their table up with at the beginning of the con, and at the end of the con they're handing them out for free, and they'll never make another comic their entire life. And in their whole life as a comic creator lived and died by one con that nobody knew who they were. And I think I've seen it a million times on the convention circuit, and I think crowdfunding, for all the pros and negatives, makes it more realistic. The idea of crowdfunding makes it more realistic that somebody actually has a chance, even if they're going in debt for a book, that they're going in less debt for a book. And it also gives a chance that people are going to get more for their book, their money, than they will by any other company at Marvel and DC. If these books start making 6 figures above, you guys are adding trading cards, pretty much a whole damn pack of trading cards. Anything else you can put in a Gemini mailer or anything that you want to add to it, you technically could. You could get everybody a free coconut when you hit $160,000 on the book. If you can mail them a coconut, you can give them a coconut. I mean, it's that is the beauty of crowdfunding. And I think in all the, well, what about this story, this horror story? What about this good story? What about, it's like, I think everybody has to kind of understand the core of crowdfunding and get back to that. I noticed, like, people aren't pitching their books all that great anymore. I notice people aren't talking about the stretch goals anymore. People aren't getting people excited about the extra stuff you're getting for being a very patient customer. And that kind of connection between the creator and I think the customer, you're not going to get at Marvel and DC. You never did. Never did Marvel and DC say you've stuck with a Batman for 100 issues. Here's a free trading card. They never did that. They don't give a fuck. They'll just turn the character gay.
That part's true,
that's a really good point, actually.
So it sounds like your solution to these issues is to lead by example. As long as you're
my solution is I think in the end is this is crowdfunding. Everybody's going to have to understand that you're asking, it's a belief. You're believing in a product and you're believing that a creator is going to make the best product with your money. Now that's the only rubber band you can put around this and lump it all together, in my opinion. Anything else after that, you're going to have to go case by case.
It's all part of the growing process of what it's like to be in a creative space.
Understand, like crowdfunding is relatively, in the grand scheme of comic books, crowdfunding has, when would you guys put crowdfunding on the map? I remember 2010, people were starting to notice crowdfunding books, but I know it was there before 2010.
Who did crowdfunding big? Was that like Lady Death and
The Order of the
Stick?
Stick?
Before that, Gail Simone had a book that was $100,000 with Jimmy California. I remember that. And
There were some big webcomics ones too. The Order of the Stick had a huge one. Some of them, I think, broke 6 figures at least, almost 7 in some cases. Some of the webcomics hit really big ones.
Yeah,
So how do you sell that? How do you sell the message of faith in crowdfunding?
I kind of just did. It's going to be the purest form of comics. Not just because it's the direct to customer, direct to consumer route, but as a direct to customer, it's all right. Let me pull back on this. Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud, right? We've all read it, or some of us have read it. How many of us have read it?
Got that
Pointless.
book?
Yes,
Where's by it?
Yeah, pretty much everybody's read it. If you like comics, you're going to happenstance around this book or something. So there's the part, and somebody can refresh my memory a little bit on it, where he's talking about the information between the gutters, right? That it's the gutters of the comic that actually make the comic, because that is where the human brain puts panel 1 and panel 2, and anything that happens in between panel 1 and 2, your brain fills in that stuff. And there's a great scene he uses in there where you see a lady screaming in the shadow of an axe in the
Blood in the
background.
gutter, yeah.
And then you just see blood and a scream, and your brain figures out, well, did it cut her head clean off? Did it bash her brains in two? You don't know how bad she's mauled, or maybe he just hit a jar of ketchup. You don't fucking know, right? But your brain, you fill in the gore there.
Yeah.
Crowdfunding comics, I believe, is that to another goddamn level. Okay, so I come out here, I got like Mr. Special Pants #1 is going to be the best comic ever. It's going to have the whatever cover and all the greatest ideas of my entire life I put into this book, Mr. Special Pants #1. Guys, if you believe in me, then you're going to get a copy of Mr. Special Pants, and you will be holding the best comic in the world. And you as the customer made it happen. Now, at that point, you as a customer, you invest in Mr. Special Pants #1, and you as the creator are making the best Mr. Special Pants #1 you're going to get. And if I deliver you a great comic, that is fucking magic. That me and you as the customer, we made that shit happen out of thin air. Thin air. We were able to make that happen. You as a reader and me as a creator.
That's like audience participation.
And that is what I think crowdfunding is when you get down to its core. Frank Miller, to me, 2-3 times I've met Frank Miller in my life. And one time I had this very long, profound conversation with him about comics and how to treat characters. I was being given a horrible assignment called Metal Men. And nobody was talking to Frank Miller at this party. It was weird because in this party, somewhere at the bottom of this bar, there was a bank vault. And the door was open, just like one of those comic book doors. It's like a round door and it's open. And you look down there and there's couches and a library built in this bank vault and stuff. And right there in the center of the fucking room is Frank Miller and nobody in the fucking bank vault with Frank Miller. And I just run in and I'm like, hey, Frank, we've talked before, blah, 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 blah. He's like, hey, he's just happy somebody's talking to him. I'm like, how is nobody talking to Frank Miller inside an open bank vault? Like, I think I'm in a fucking dream. Right. And I've met Frank at 3 or 4 different times at different stages of his life. Healthy Frank, fat Frank, and then head shaped punk Frank, and then like Frank we know today, kind of sickly. And so I'm talking, he's like, well, what are you doing today? And I'm like, oh, I'm doing this and that. And this is a horrible Metal Men assignment. He's like, well, what he could see my face. He's like, he looks at me, he's like, well, what you got to do is you got to boil it down to the basics of the character and then build off of that. You got to just strip away all this other shit and just get down to the core, the purest form, and then build off of that. And I was like, oh, and he seemed to know the characters. I don't know. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Well, I'm not writing this. It's somebody else is writing it. It's like, but I feel like that's where we're at with crowdfunding. I really do. Everybody's got to get down to the basic core of this. And I have the intentions to make the best fucking comic and nobody's standing in my way. And you as the customer, nobody's standing in your way from buying the best comic ever that will be made. And us together can make that happen. And I think it's always going to come down to being that simple. Now, everybody has going to have their special, it takes them X amount of time to make that product. Some people, maybe they get paralysis just from the idea of trying to make that a reality. Maybe some people have not great intentions. It's going to be about case by case, but the idea of just crowdfunding in general, it has to be that simple. It can't get more complicated than that. So when I say there was a bit of a disruption, there's a lot of people saying my book's already done. And it's like, what's that got to do with crowdfunding? Nothing. There's a market for already done books. Mm-hmm. It's over there. This isn't crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is about, I'm asking you as customers, do I have your permission to make this really fucking cool book? It has to be that simple to me. That is my answer. And I know everybody wants to go into the weeds on this, that, and the other, but you just have to understand what crowdfunding is when you get down to it.
Exactly.
You're asking
That's
them
exactly
to believe,
what I've seen it as.
You're asking them to believe that in the core of the character as rooted in the creator. And as long as you have faith in the creator, you'll have faith in the creations.
Yeah. I mean,
what's at the core of Shane Davis?
Yeah, I see you in the chat and I see you're upset and everything, but one of the questions TJ asked earlier is, did Eric July win? You wanted to know if I think that. And my answer is I don't care. I was never competing with Eric. I know everybody thinks that, and I feel like Eric wanted it to be more of a competition. I understand, everybody has ambitions and drive and raising more money. But I want to make more money with a comic than the next guy, but I also want to make the better comic than the next guy. That's where the win is for me. So yes, what depends? No, I mean, would I make? I did a comic series to this day I won't talk about because it is fucking atrocious. It's atrocious. It was a bad book from the beginning. Nothing I could have done would have ever changed that from being a bad book. And I made a very bad creative sin. I hit the gas and just got it the fuck done. I was like, I just got to get through this and on to the next book. I drew that thing so I couldn't care what it looked like. TJ is the only time my entire career I ever did that. I made a shit book. And I promise you, I don't plan on doing it again. And if you think I'm in a competition to see who can make the shittiest book, I'm not playing that game. I'm not playing.
You don't have to with crowdfunding. You get to make the book
No,
you want to make.
I don't want to know what this book was now.
Corporate comic outside of DC is fucking atrocious. It was just a nightmare, and it was so bad. It was just so bad, and they couldn't even come up with an ending. It was just a nightmare, and I just had to get through it. It's like when everybody in the room, and it was a corporate type book where there's a million people with their fingers in it. It's like you guys don't even know what this is, and I just got to get through it, and not get bogged down with this thing.
Is that where you think Rippaverse is right now? Is just putting out product and not really believing in the product anymore?
To be honest, I don't keep up with them that much anymore. I think it's less and less about the crowdfunding aspect as that well dried up, but there's some type of weird, I think there's some sort of weird outline or deniability that, like, if that same product is taken to a different market, it'll have a different result. And that's what is the Einstein thing. Somebody that does something over and over again and expect a different result is the insanity or something like that. There's some quote, Einstein quote.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the moral of the quote. I'm butchering that. But I mean, the idea is like, let's take this stuff to another market and we'll get a different result. And it could be devastating for them because there's returnability. I know there is because I'm looking at a deal right now on my desk, and returnability is a thing. And Marvel and DC have deathly tried to get out of returnability for the better part of my career. It can really kill a comic profit margins completely. And that's a whole other speech. So, like, I don't know. I think he's looking for a different result somewhere else. Is it a W? It depends. Was that where he wanted to go? I don't know. Like, you'd have to ask Eric if that's a W. I'm not even, like, I could not make it into a bookstore and I'd be okay. Like, I'm not that concerned about it. I made peace that I'm not allowed in major bookstores anymore.
Is it a risk? Maybe going into the bookstores then?
Returnability is, yeah. I mean, here's the way returnability can work against you. So people order your book, they put it on the shelf. There's a deadline for returnability. Here comes a big new book, and you'll see how this cycle doesn't work for comic shops. Marvel puts out a next big book, and they want you to over-order to qualify for a variant cover. Well, you go pull out all the money in your savings, or you can go rip the covers off of a bunch of returnable books and get that money back to now order the Marvel book and qualify for the cover. Returnability can really bite you in the ass. The direct book market, I don't think they operate anywhere near in that mentality. But, imagine if you put a book out and it's returnable and it's not a good book, or nobody wants to buy it. It can, you can end up with debt on the books you printed.
So which way are you leaning with your book deal then? If it's a
going
risk,
to be returnable. That most book deals are returnable.
Yeah,
it's just there. I just have to be confident in my product. It won't face a lot of returns. No, that's just returnability. It's there. Like, no publisher, no distributor is going to take that risk. You're taking the risk.
Yeah. I mean, we got to think positive, right?
Well, I think all of this, talking about crowdfunding, talking about other book markets, it's like, if the product's good, get behind that good product. Whether you're a backer, whether you're a creator, whether you're trying to put your book in the other market. I mean, look, not every book would I want to take that returnability, that I've ever done, even in my career. Like that corporate book I don't want to name. Like, I wouldn't want to stand out there and go on the fence on that and be like, hey, or put my neck on the line for that thing to be returned. I wouldn't do that, you know. But Inglorious Rex, yeah, I would, but you know, we'll see.
What's your vision for it? Also, a movie, a TV series?
Is he roboting for anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. It's not just me.
I need a few more. Yeah, I know. I need a few more words. I think. What is your vision for? And then that's all I got.
Yeah.
What's your vision, Shane?
What's my vision? I don't know.
Is it 2020?
You know, man, I don't know. Ideally, I'm supposed to say, and I do believe, I think Back Me Bro will be a second wind and a second chance. Indiegogo for new creators and old. I think the Indiegogo thing has really been a kick in the balls to everybody. I have customers that the Indiegogo didn't take their pledge, and they're having to come to me that the money was never taken from them, and can they get their order? So the site's busted. To the backers, they don't like it. To the creators, they don't like it. Everybody's having problems with it. And you know, I think it's a great thing around the corner. I think everybody's going to get excited. I think some people are going to feel great about it. I think some people are not going to feel great about it. And here's the good news. It's going to be whatever we decide to make it. That's the thing. Like, you know, and that's more than most people. That you have to understand. That's more than most situations in life give you. You know, that, I mean, the future can be as bright as we want it to right now. And that's great. Just everybody's got to get jazzed about it.
All right.
I don't.
All right. Let's get jazzed.
I intend to do that. I intend to do that. I've been working really hard on making like things that could inspire people or excite people when I launch my next campaign. So I've been working hard on that for the last couple of months. So
it's Lady Midnight, right?
Yeah, Lady Midnight is the one next I'm working on. Working hard.
That project looks great. That project looks great.
I appreciate that. And thanks to you, I revamped the storyline because I heard your critiques on it. It looked like a really complicated plot. It kind of was, because I went back through it and there were some relics from previous editions, previous versions that I had held on to that didn't actually need to be there. So I kind of removed them all.
I didn't think it was complicated as a book. I thought it was just in the trailer.
Yeah,
I don't know. I try to keep trailers. You have to understand, everybody's got low attention spans. I just try to keep it real basic. You know,
I redid the trailer to just focus on the mystery, and but you were right about the story too. I didn't know enough about the story to talk about the story. I was talking about the trailer. But you did have a huge positive influence. It's a much better story now, a much better script.
All right. Yeah. I can't wait to see that launch. But in general, I think the future is bright. I think it's as bright as we want it to be. I do think we don't need to get confused what crowdfunding is. And I think that's getting lost in the weeds and to some point, because I've always had issues with people slamming crowdfunding. Yeah, you might be mad at this book or this whatever, or you didn't like the book you got, you know, or it's shipped upside down or torn or whatever. Anything could go wrong. But there's all crowdfunding. There's always going to be some new creator on the horizon, some talented motherfucker, especially now with the way the direct market is and everything, that's going to make the best comic you've ever seen that you don't even know exists yet. And crowdfunding is going to be their possibility to make that happen. And I think, like, if you are a comic fan and if you believe in comics as the art form, it's the only thing that can, you know, that's solid. Because everything else is companies, mega corporations being bought and sold and traded and maybe shut down. We don't know. Like, I find it very hard to be a Marvel and DC fan right now. Like, personally. Like, I don't know if Marvel Comics is going to be there 2 years from now.
They might not be. and
Yeah.
Might not be.
deservedly
But
so.
here's the thing with there is an interesting thing that occurs with crowdfunding. You think it's all indies, but it's not. Some big companies, big publishers will actually
Yeah.
crowdfund too.
Yeah.
And like you wonder why. And the thing is, well, maybe it's a project that is kind of they're not really sure about it. But I think second of all, and the reality is, I think they know how much fun and how much more connected they are to the audience when they're doing crowdfunding.
Yeah.
They can give you more personalized rewards. It feels like you're making this together. It kind of jazzes people up and it gets people excited.
That's why I go back to that Scott McCloud between the, what happens between the gutters or whatever. It's kind of like that. There's a type of in the air connection between the creator and the backer that you won't get just buying a book off the shelf. And the way we as creators embellish that and really remind people of that is got to be the stretch goals. You have got to not go in debt that you can't make your book, but do try to remind people you're getting this one thing extra because you supported this campaign to get this mile marker. And I do think as long as I've been CG, that's getting talked about less and less. People don't bring it up enough. And look, everybody gets tired of hearing about them, but it's like, one, you'll come up with some cool shit every now and then, think of something that somebody else didn't, and it's innovative, but it is the one defining factor between you just buying the book somewhere. Like if Inglorious Rex gets into Barnes & Noble, nobody's getting any of the fucking trading cards, any of the lenticular cards, any bookmark, any patch, any sticker, any of that stuff. You're going to have to go to eBay to buy that. You're going to have to go, if you want those first editions, you're going to have to go to the aftermarket and all that stuff. It's like, I don't know, that part of crowdfunding, I think is so important because even projects I've backed, like I think I got like a G.I. Joe compendium or something like that, or Transformer compendium. The fucking stretch goals that I got with that were fucking insane. I mean, I'm talking pins, these long bookmark type energy reading cards. It's like, it was just challenge coins, full comics, single issue facsimile editions. It's like they went all the fuck out. Now it's like, you did everything that nobody's going to top this in stretch goals. I remember when Ethan had everybody got like the Cyberfrog PVC. That was huge. And that, again, that's why buying that book from Ethan means more than just buying an Ethan Green Lantern book from DC. You're not going to get any of that shit. I don't know, man. That part gets me excited about crowdfunding. It really does. One, I get to watch my wife bitch about packing stretch goals. But two, it's like as a customer, I realize you're getting something special, and that again fortifies, like, this or solidifies this thing that is crowdfunding. It is the punctuation mark on it.
Cool, Shane. That's actually a really good message, I think, to cap things off on, because you definitely delivered your industry and your belief and your passion very, very strongly there. So I think that's
Nailed
a
it.
lot that people can take away from all of this. What more do we have to look forward to from you in the future? What more can you offer, considering everything you're doing
I'm getting
already?
ready to, we're lettering Inglorious Rex 3 now. Everybody look forward to that, especially if you're curious about the kinetic stuff. We're going to be going into that in 3 and 4. Those are 4 I'm wanting to launch later this year. Because of the Back Me Bro stuff, it's probably going to delay the Anatomic launch. So maybe, I don't know, like after the holidays settle, maybe I'll launch Anatomic 2. And those are the 2 things in the horizon. Inglorious Rex 4, we're going to do something special on that campaign that I have not done in any crowdfunding campaign. It's going to blow you guys' socks off. So guys, really,
I'm
you
hyped.
guys are going to be shocked by that one, because we're doing some crazy shit with that campaign. It's not going to be your standard Inglorious Rex campaign. And then the Anatomic book. That's my next 2 things. And Back Me Bro, I'm wanting to launch. I don't want to put a date out there because we got to test run the site, but it could be sooner than anybody thinks. If you want to get on the mailing list, just go to 9livescomics.com, where you guys can also buy Anatomic if you want. And what you want to do is just go over there and sign up for the mailing list.
Cool. It sounds exciting. Lots to look forward to.
Yeah. And with that, like I said, there's the Starlight Cats reprint we're doing with the extra 16 pages in it. So that will be the next, I guess that is the next thing on the horizon, is I'll be launching that. Yeah, on Backbee, bro. So there you guys go. Boom.
Twitless, Literature Devil, Piper, thank you so much, all three of you, for being here. Is there anything you guys would like to say before we sign out? Twitless.
I don't think so. I mean, I liked reading Anatomic. It was pretty good. I like the conflict, the internal conflict, the how it was built, how it was put together, and overall, I really enjoyed reading it.
That's excellent. Well, thank you guys very much for your opinions. Thank you, Shane, very much for your time and your vision. We're looking forward to the future. Future is bright. So.
Oh yeah, it has to be, man. I'm wearing sunglasses tomorrow. All right, thanks for having me. You guys later.
All right, everybody, have a good night. Later.
Bye-bye.